On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, where is Tiamat? Where is she? Where are they hiding her? Show her to me. Give her to me. Give. Along with other topics like Pilgrimage Festival and LILIM HARLOT pregame. Hello, I am one of your hosts. This voice is Omega. The other voice is Lucky. And we are the Where's Tiamat Committee.
The WTC. But with that, I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka a pilgrimage by any other name. And while we are here at Studio Make, I'd like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes. We will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM versions of the game. So anyone not want spoilers, remember to... Why are there so many leaves in my mouth?
Sorry, I had to fight not to audibly laugh there in the middle of Lucky's amazing Foley. Okay, all right, I'm good. Acting. But yes, shout out to all of our lovely patrons. We'll be sure to give some verbal shout-outs sometime in the show. But for the moment, I will be content to just say thanks to all the listeners, but especially the patrons, some of whom are listening to us live right now. And at least one person brought up that, it will be funny if, while we're recording, if we go like 2.5, 3 hours, if Tiamat drops. Which might happen. It might be. They might start the pre-release tonight. We genuinely don't know. If it's like a week long, that would mean that they're aiming for a Friday release of LILIM HARLOT, which would be, Friday, quote unquote. You know what I mean, chat. Would be, the 28th. That's late March. That could work. But we'll discuss probably some more theories about that in a hot second. Because I will play the sound cue, but I think we're already inside my pro tip.
Senpai, 起きてください.
So this is Wake the Fuck Up Senpai Ricochet for pro tips, and my pro tip is that we truly have no idea when the LILIM HARLOT pre-release starts. Our Discord, hey, join our Discord, link it below, has been like theory crafting literally all week about when it happens, and it hasn't happened yet, so we're all a little bamboozled. And
every night at reset, we're just all like, is it gonna happen? Data update? No, it's not this one.
Yeah, I remember on Wednesday, we were literally playing 14 as it rolled around, and it was like, oh, is it gonna... Nope, nothing. No data update, it's nothing. So, yeah, it's...
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
It's true. So, yeah, we're speculating there's a non-zero chance it's already happened. It literally could happen either as we're recording this or as we're, like, wrapping and exporting this. So, God be with us if that happens, inshallah. Be sure to watch this video approximately, one time for every hug you would give Tiamat. Watch this video one time for every Saint Quartz you spend on Tiamat. See how many watches you have to do. You would have to actually do that because the Saint Quartz conversion would get very bad. 1 10 spin is 30 times. But that's why Records and Evils are all not clear. I mean, I think we're both done with the event.
Yeah. We'll probably get our final thoughts out later. Probably sparse as they are.
Yeah, because it was a 7 nights time gated event, not super robust, but had some stuff in there. But there's not really a lot going on, so we're just chilling. And when it happens, it happens. We'll see. Actually, this is a good. We're about a week from that, but that's a good pro tip to throw ahead of time just in case that's also going to be like a midnight release on like Friday night or something. Because we also since we don't know when the pre-release is happening, we don't know when LILIM HARLOT is happening, other than that they said late March, which, it's only the 21st, so there's like 10 whole days that could be. But Draco does have a special summon animation, so yeah, Gold and Rainbow Sparks don't count, because I think every summon animation is the special one. So, keep that one in mind. There you go, bonus pro tip. Anyway, let's real quick check in with did you finish your master missions? To finish your master missions this week, you have to defeat 15 Earth attribute enemies, defeat 15 female enemies, and then also 15 humanoid enemies, 5 supergiant enemies, and then obtain 2 skill gems or statues as drops, and then 4 skill gems or statues as drops. So you can accomplish all of this by doing the event, and also there may be some sort of something coming up that we'll talk about, shortly in the skelograms that may also be encouraging you to run some embers, maybe some daily mats. You can probably pick up those couple of things in there somewhere. But that does mean that we can move on to skelograms and talk about the news. And I'm pretty sure, we should say, just because we talked about it on a couple of streams, but we did miss last week. Lucky wasn't feeling well. The timing was bad. March is cursed.
March is cursed. Damn you, Julius Caesar.
March is haunted. But I'm reasonably certain that JP is still going through their tail end because they started their CBC around the same time we started our CBC. So they're still on the tail end of the Dante event. The weekly campaign last week, I don't remember if I actually noted it. I never wrote the show notes for it, but I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think it was the Alter Ego one, maybe? No, I think the Alter Ego was a while. It was an extra class in between the writer one. But we haven't really missed that much news in the week we were off, so it worked out.
Yeah.
Because in JP, they have been running, as usual, like I said, their weekly summon campaigns, and we are now on Writer Weekly Campaign number 2. So maybe it was Writer number 1, I don't know. They've usually been alternating, though. Anyway, that started the 17th and is going until the 24th. It's got all the usual stuff that I am no longer writing down, but we'll rattle off roughly. You know, you've got Double Suck, you've got a Trial Quest gimmick, which gives you an apple. Yeah, Double Suck, Training Field Writer open all the time, interludes are unlocked for all servants, you know, all that stuff. And the banners they're doing, you've got Da Vinci Writer, Huangfeihu Ushi, Europa, Summer Suzuka, Alexander, Odysseus, Mary Columbus, Nemo, Martha, Red Hair, Taigong Wong, Anna and Mary, Mandricardo, Constantine, Astolfo, Medusa, Bakken, Summer Mordred, Boudica, Takeda Shingen, Summer Carmela, Ushi again, and Andromeda, Summer Murasaki, Alexander. And I do believe that Andromeda is the bullet point on that, so that's it. No more Rider re-up. We do, yes, have the Anime Japan stuff coming up soon, though. This weekend, I think?
I believe so. I believe they even have a stream set for it.
Yes.
Yes.
So that'll be soon. That'll probably be the announcement of what the Golden Week collab will be. Not necessarily any details on it, but they will probably pre-announce what it will be. And we might get, because I do think it is Audio Call themed, we might get news on Audio Call 4, like a month planned.
Yeah, we might get a title. I think everyone has been sensed with Dante showing up and the text revealed that the ruler one is probably going to have something to do with the Divine Comedy.
Well, heaven, hell, and purgatory.
Yep. So we're going to be looking forward to that.
Honestly, you can make an argument metaphorically that the protagonist has seen all three of those things. We've seen some real fucked up places. We've seen some, kind of quote unquote perfect places, and we've seen some places that were just kind of there.
If I remember correctly, I do think somewhere in his line somewhere, I don't remember where I say them, but Dante basically wants to be our Virgil, as Virgil was to him. So could be interesting.
But that's what we got going on in JP. So expect more JP news next week. But for now, they are in as much of a holding pattern as we are. But we got a little bit of spice, a little bit of spice leaf, in the English version for our remaining week or so before the event kicks off. And honestly, actually, there's going to be a little overlap. But Pilgrimage Festival Part 1, going from the 20th until the 3rd of April. And yeah, they, I guess, decided to go with Pilgrimage Festival in English. I don't know if the syllables worked better or what.
I would like to ask somebody, but that doesn't bug me that much.
No, it's just, again, hypothetically, I'd love to lock in an interview question with Albert about it. And he may just say, well, the graphics team back in Japan thought it flowed better, They made it look prettier, which is entirely possible. They've kind of talked about how that actually does influence the way the English names of some events are, is that the graphics team still works at Lasengle back in JP, so, they gotta kind of, slam it all together that way. But, that is the hypothetical question I would love to ask him, but I would tell him, no offense, but I'm gonna accidentally call it the Evocation Festival several times. From here on. It will keep happening. Especially because they're still called Leaves of Evocation. So, yeah. Anyway, it is the Welfare Festival. That's what it is. We are permanently adding the Leaf Shop, the Shop of Leaves, and we are starting by adding, honestly, probably, I want to say, some of the three top, welfares I would pick. Writer Kentoki, Caster Shuten Doji, aka Onikure, and Samba Kets. All three of them are added. If you're not familiar, I say this because as event servants, as welfares, Writer Kentucky and Caster Shuten are just classically really good in slot. They are single target versions of cheap NP5, so they have helped people cruise on damage for many, many years. And Samba Kets, the Christmas Quetzalcoatl, is a big pull because even though it was during the time period when events did get reruns, her event never did get a rerun for unspecified reasons. So that's just one that if you missed her the first time, you were SOL. So we're adding those. If you are a newer player who does not have these welfares, or even if you're an older player and you missed them because, maybe you weren't as ham on FGO and you missed out some opportunities, they're here. You can exchange them for a number of leaves. And this basically the currency of the evocation leaves of evocation can be used to exchange for NP copies, ascension materials, and coins if you don't have them. So there's a variety of things you can work through on there. There's also both a login campaign and limited time master missions, special master missions, which will net you not only a shitload of leaves, just an absolute smattering of leaves, but also will result in Saint Quartz. I do believe they say that between the limited time master missions and the login bonuses, there's enough for a 10 spin, maybe more. So there's summons worth of quartz in there to work through. So make sure you are doing your limited times and your logging in.
I should probably make sure to log in and get submissions out of the way while now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I think the primary ones that aren't just going to unlock instantly if you're an old head, because I got all the rewards for, having the 3 welfares leveled and stuff, for instance, instantly, is they want you to run some embers, but that'll be pretty easy. First of all, this is a thing to keep in mind for all future evocation festivals, but is also true now. The festival servants, the new servants added, get double XP, and they get 50% attack during the duration, so you are incentivized to use them. What would you be using them on? Well, we've got double suck chance, half QP enhancement on servants, and half AP embers. So if you want to do any last-minute ember farming for any of the collab servants, now's your time. And also, if you do have these welfares to purchase, you can do some ember farming there. And you also probably want to do some ember farming just to get some of those missions out of the way. Also, yeah, it might be 60 total. I think they said something like it might even be more, because I remember rightly. I can double... It's one of those things where I could open up a new tab and go to the news site and double-check, but I'm sure that, the listener at home can check even faster than it would take me to click. You can just pause the video and check. I think actually what their graphic says is over 30 summons, so it may be 60 or 90 even, but don't quote me on that. You can check the news site. Sorry, I'm double checking where my bullet point is. Samaket's costumes are going to be added to dressmaking, so you can get her different mask. And we have celebratory banners, which are just funny because they are regular Kentucky and Suna, Shuten and Ibaraki, and then Quetzalcoatl and Summer Martha. Very specifically Summer Martha, because, it's themed around the Christmas event. So, good times. But, this is if you weren't paying any attention to JP for the past couple of years, this is the festival format. And we're going to be doing this every, I want to say 3 months or so. They're going to drop a handful of welfares. They've done 6 or 7 of them in JP by now, including, yes, they did do one for Summer Valkyries. Thank God.
Okay, so Lucky just double-checked the news. It looks like it is a total of 60 split between 2 different campaigns. One is the daily login bonus, which will be going for a while. It looks like it goes all the way till mid-April, actually, to get that full 30. And then you also have the daily master missions, which only will give you another 30. So it's very much staggered out quartz.
Yeah, I've scrolled the page now. So they say they've got the thing I'm thinking of is they say you get, X number of leaves, and then you get Saint Quartz times 30 worth a maximum of 11 Saint Quartz summons.
Yeah.
So they've got both those numbers. Also, important to note, I should actually have said this earlier, but the limited time master missions are also important because there is X1 Holy Grail in there if you complete all the missions. And to do that, you need to do Ember gathering a maximum of 6 times and do free quests on a story map a maximum of 3 times. So it should be pretty easy to lock in all those.
And by the way, the Saint Quartz, they are not cumulative or consecutive. It is based upon the day. Basically, well, on the site here it says every Wednesday, but on every Wednesday is going to be the Saint Quartz pickup. So you want to make sure you want to log on that day specifically. The rest of it just seems to be leaves, and I'm going to be real, you're going to be getting a fuck ton of leaves.
Yeah, they also added leaves to daily mission rewards permanently. So, just a few of them. And guess what? There's going to be more leaves in the event upcoming. Spoilers for LILIM HARLOT's pregame. There's more leaves. But yeah, this actually reminds me of, I think, the way that a lot of login campaigns and stuff for future events will start taking this format, where they're just they run 3-week-long logins, and it's basically okay, so for 6 days out of the week, it's a silver apple. On the 7th day, it's a gold apple kind of a thing. Or for the last week, it's all gold apples. Basically like little calendar charts. Similar to how the advent calendar events have always worked in EN. Just in general, try to clock your logins. You'll be all right.
You got this. Alrighty. So with that though, I do believe we are done with the mailbag. Sorry, it's kind of a slow week, guys. We are in a holding pattern as everyone looks out for their dragon mom. To some, dragon mom wife. I'm in that latter category, by the way. But
listen, it's a very old joke on this channel because I talked about this in the Wanted. Actually, I should say this before we get into mailbag. The Wanted is shot. I was worried like Tuesday that it was going to be like Wednesday night, so I slam jammed the script in the video at the front half of the week. It's posted for patrons right now. If you're at a high enough Patreon level to get videos early, you can watch it ahead of time. Most people, I think, like to wait so that their Wanted luck is fresh, but it's locked and ready to go.
Hot and fresh.
But I talked about it that this is a banner that's been like 7 years in the making because that's how long ago the Babylonia release was, calendar wise.
Oh yeah.
So it's been a long time. So we have a very old joke about the graph, which is just one axis is dragon, the other is mother, and just as it goes up, the more you go, the bigger the graph gets.
Oh, wait, no, shit, stop. All right.
He's gone too far.
I've gone too far.
Oh, also, I don't remember if I mentioned it, and I don't know if it's exactly because of that or if it's because of something else, but it looks like all embers are open as well. I don't remember seeing that part in the Evocation Festival, but it could be true. Or it could be something else.
I brought the wrong team! Whatever, some Ibuki break their fingers.
Summer Ibuki covereth a multitude of sins.
But, with that out of the way, it is time for this week's Let's Talk FGO mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. Unfortunately, because Lucky Wit woke up from his afternoon nap super fucking late, good job, Lucky, you're great at being an adult, we did not get much time out on this as well. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, look on the bright side of life. I don't know if the whistling came through.
It did.
Okay, cool. I hope no one's ears were hurt by that. Studio Mega does not take any responsibility for damaged eardrums. But
it's fine. I'm looking at the sound waves right now. We've made way louder sounds into these microphones.
Cool. But we got five lovely comments. Thank you very much for getting them in lickety split. And we will start right meow. Our first one comes from Still Waiting on Tiamat, who says, "Howdy, Lucky and Meg. I hope y'all are feeling better this week. I know the Luckster was down with the sickness last week." I immediately have the musical sting in my head. Thank you. Anyway, and my question for you gentlemen this week is, what are your thoughts about localization going with Pilgrimage Festival over Evocation Festival?
I mean, I think we kind of mentioned it earlier. I don't hate it, but
I'm
kind of confused.
To quote Futurama on this, I have no feelings, strong feelings one way or another.
Tell my wife I said hello.
Cause like when you think about it, what does Evocation Festival even mean in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I don't. I think I wondered that, a couple of years ago when they came out with it. I'm like, I'm not sure why they're calling it Evocation Festival, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Evocation Festival is only being thought about like this merely on the fact that it came first. Like, I want you guys to consider, how would you feel if it was originally called Evocation Festival, and if it originally called Pilgrimage Festival, and then we switched it to Evocation Festival? It's like, either way, I'm just like, it's a bunch of words. They probably have some hidden meaning that I might not be fully grokking, but I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses as a thing. Like a pilgrimage, a journey, maybe with some religious connotations, could be, something significant, as we're about to do Ordeal Call and do what is basically a journey of self-discovery in a way. So, all this going on in the background, could be good, but evocation, that's the mage craft and whatnot. Something also very important to you, but also usually when I consider evocation, I think about D&D evocation, which, is, fireballs and shit. I'm just like, not really sure if that's the, wait, actually, what is the classical meaning of
evocation? Noun.
Yeah, what is the...
1. The act of bringing or recalling a feeling, memory, or image to the conscious mind. 2. The action of invoking a spirit or deity. So, evocation works as a translation, and I think there's a reason why they're still called the Leaves of Evocation, because
Yeah.
we spend them to bring forth servants that don't exist anymore, basically. But it is also the kind of thing where, like, without me, like, double-checking what the hecking kanji was on the original event, I don't know if they meant it that way, because here's the thing. We've talked about this before, but this is an important thing that really pervades this channel exactly, because I think our two biggest content hitters are FGO and stuff I do about Yu-Gi-Oh! Both of which originate in Japan. And let me bring up the fact that the Japanese love wordplay. They love homonyms and they love, double meanings. The problem is, if you don't know how homonym works, that sounds the same. When you translate into English, there's no guarantee that you get those homonyms. So it could be that in Japanese, there was a double entendre or a double meaning to something they said. Or there could be like a deeper cultural context. Whereas, the translators decided to go with like evocation because maybe like with leaves of evocation, that's more literal. But the impression the writers wanted to give is more like pilgrimage. And that's something I can't know without actually like double checking the original text. I give it like 50-50 odds. There's someone in the comments of this video who like can read the original Japanese text and drops us a line. If you do that, thank you in advance. If you don't do that, oh no, I lost the coin flip. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where, like, evocation is kind of a cooler word, but it may not have the exact meaning the creators intended, so they went with pilgrimage, which pilgrimage festivals, yeah, I guess, that's kind of what it is still, right? I believe the intent is kind of to celebrate how far we've come on this journey and, whatchamacallit, like, bring back, places we've been, basically, things you can't get anymore because they were moments in time. Yeah, it's that Mono no Aware shit.
Fleeting. Okay, there's me damn Ember farming team.
Also, while he's picking his team, I will say it's funny they mentioned the if we're feeling better, because like, yeah, kind of, but also I think it's another high pollen day today. I've been very kind of dry and itchy throat and nose a little today, so I'm drinking plenty of water.
Yeah, by the way, everyone in the northern hemisphere, happy spring equinox. Everyone in the southern half, happy fall equinox. We are in the moderate times.
Yay.
I hope you like either pollen or leaves, because that's what you getting.
No, I fucking hate pollen, actually. Literally, my body rejects it. It's funny.
But with that, let us move on to the next one. The next one comes from Monster Girl Aficionado, who says, Dear Lucky and Omega, the question this week, just sending good vibes. Wah, 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 wah. And wishing you well, keep up the great work, and good luck on your Tiamat rolls. Boy, howdy, am I going to need it. Lucky would like to get that MP5. I know you need the MP6, but I'm going to be real. I can miss out on one app pen skill. I am not that fucking desperate. I will look to the future.
I'll be fine with just one app end skill for now, just because Tiamat has a very cool one. Tiamat's anti-beast, by the way, chat.
Yeah, no, that's rad.
It's very funny and also may actually literally be relevant for upcoming bullshit.
But yeah, no, like I have a small St. Quartz pile. I just passed like 210 not too long ago. I have like 67 tickets, and I got some emergency funds built up, which I think is enough for like 5 big packs. You know, the $90 ones. I don't know if I can hit MP5 in that, but I'm gonna try. And once we get there, we will see. We'll see how I'm feeling. If I only got like MP2 after that, I'm gonna be like, nah, fan, I'm done. But if I'm at like MP4, I'm gonna be like, Have I mentioned that Lucky is very bad with financial responsibility? So, we will see. Going to move on. This next one comes from the 100-hour man who says, what? Sorry, we were doing treasure dungeons the other day, and I always think of the foley they have sometimes when they either like spin the roulette or you open a door. They just hype you up.
Yeah, they have a fucking crowd cheer sound.
They hype you up, and then they set you down as the door slams, and then everything fades to black. But alas, suddenly it's rainbows, and the door opens. Sometimes 3 times in a fucking row.
Yeah, it was a wild one. What was it, Tuesday night? Yeah, I think it was Tuesday we were doing the dungeons.
So, this person says, Dear Lucky and Omega, hope you're having a great week of looking at the clock waiting for Tiamat to show up. Bruh, you do not understand. Every time, like 9 o'clock my time, because that's when the daily reset hits for me, I'm just like, I don't know if that came in, but just the sharp inhalation of breath. I look at the screen, I see a data update, my heartbeat quickens, my palms get sweaty, mom spaghetti.
Knees weak, arms heavy.
And then I realized it was just the pilgrimage festival popping up, and I'm just like, now mommy has also left to go to for some milk. She's only been gone for 6 years, though. I'm sure she'll be back this week along with Daddy. Who's Daddy? So my question for y'all this week: are any of you planning on streaming your roles or any of the story of the upcoming event? I don't know if I can commit to watching it live personally, but I, for certain, would go back and watch it back. Also, with my crazy hours, I'm being tempted to join the skip game for this event, which I really don't want to since this story feels like it's going to be epic. I'm going to tell you right now, if you skip story, especially the first time going through, get out of my house.
We don't follow that shit around here, yeah.
No.
You'll be fine, especially because you will have to spoilers for the pregame. It's a 100 mission event. You're going to have to do missions to unlock story nodes anyway. So I would say there's not a lot of point in skip ganging because you're not going to be doing like 4 story quests like back to back. You're going to like do a story quest and have to go beat up like 20 skeletons and then come back and do a different story quest. Like your consumption of story is already going to be spread out. There, you should not have to skip too bad.
In this house we read, damn it. But they finish with keep on being awesome.
Yeah, for your actual go for it.
And questions like I could like I said, I do have a small amount and I do have some, savings in the back end to do it. But it has been my general like I don't know, like I'll put it this way. To everyone out listening out there, if you would like me to stream my Tiamat roles, like, let me know either on Discord, in the YouTube comments, whatever streams we have. Let me know, because I'm one of those people. If I don't think anyone is interested in doing it, I just won't do it. Lucky has a horrible attention span. Literally, I have ADHD. It is super hard for me to get motivated to do anything. The best way for me, if you want me to do something, you got to make me feel like a crisis about it. If I'm like, oh God, all these people want me to do this thing, I will do that thing. But if everyone's just kind of meh about it, I won't do it. I'll never do it. I'll go play fucking Vintage Story and, watch fucking In Another World with my smartphone for like the 80th time.
Yeah, and there have been times when, like, when we ask these questions, we've had a couple of people like, oh, I think it'd be cool, and then haven't gone through, like, super hard. Like, it's been talked about, there have been a couple of people, usually either chronic mailbaggers or patrons who have mentioned, like, oh, I would love to see you, like, stream the Nasuverse VNs. But when we, like, talk about that on the YouTube, we don't hardly get any comments about it or anything, right? So it's like, we appreciate the read on the audience. I actually was in our YouTube backlog, and I actually scrubbed the private or deleted a couple of like really old dog shit streams, and I may do that for a few more. But most of the stuff we have left is like at least some level of nostalgia. Thank you for trying, Chris. Firing off a poll. We'll see if the people of the Discord click back. But it reminded me that like I used to like do either video captures or streams of like story and roles very, very early on the channel. I don't do that on my end anymore because Google used to have a really cool YouTube mobile app like based on like Google Play gaming and shit where you could stream shit straight to YouTube and stuff. And then they fucking got rid of it years ago. Don't know why. Since then you got to do like screen mirroring stuff or do like the switch to an emulator on your computer, which is something that Lucky usually does when he captures gameplay footage. Don't tell anyone.
Gasp.
But also that has its own problems of remembering to switch and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things where like it's unfortunately like kind of a pain in the butt to capture the footage these days. And I really wish it wasn't so much of a pain in the butt.
But yes, no, there is a poll in our Discord going on right now. Maybe I'll throw up in the community later as well.
I'll
probably
we could poll all kinds of places.
Yeah, I don't feel we have a lot of Twitter engagement. I'm gonna be real.
We don't have a lot of Twitter engagement, but usually FGO stuff is where we get the most pops. Like I usually get like a handful of likes when I share like a wanted thumbnail or something. We could see. I don't think we've ever tried polls. Oh
no, we've done. It was just a forever ago, and but no, I will definitely throw up a poll probably tomorrow on the YouTube community on it. And see, this is the great thing about Tiamat being a pre-campaign. Like, even though she'll be there, I won't feel like the super pressure to get her out before LILIM HARLOT while playing because I'll have time, so I can probably wait a couple days if for example, Tiamat does show up, I can probably maybe get some stuff set up. Because the other thing about me streaming roles is guys, I don't know if you realize this, Lucky doesn't have a great opinion of himself. I think this is something that has been fairly evident for anyone who talks to me for any length of time. I'm usually very self-depreciating and quick to put myself down. I know this. I understand this. I have no intent on stopping this anytime soon because you can't convince me that I am better than I am. So I look at myself on streaming and I go, am I entertaining enough? Can I hold people's attention? Will people want to hear me jaw for like this or scream in my, nearly 40-year-old man kind of way over getting, a 2D PNG of a dragon wife? I don't know. Can I make the stream visually appealing enough to keep people in from just, popping in for a second, seeing that there's a dude yelling about dragon moms and keeping them from leaving in? I also don't know. Lucky has been slowly but surely looking at ways to start adding, PNG tubing to our streams. Like I said, it's actually fairly simple. You just usually need some third-party tools that you can hook up to OBS to do so, and you can do a variety of effects. Shout out to your boy Shindig, a PNG tuber on Twitch who comes up with really crazy things you can do with just some third-party tools in OBS. I do recommend you check him out. Actually, let me go find this Twitter. Let me go actually post him because I think he's cool.
I have fired because we're going to talk about it, I fired a Twitter poll for 24 hours. We'll see what happens. As several people in the patron chat are just like, I'm not on Twitter anymore. And I'm like, fair, reasonable. I wish I could jump, but I will say this, even though a decent number of people I followed are also on Blue Sky, Blue Sky's still not quite as poppin'.
Anyway, I know you guys don't like, you might not like Twitter, but that's where I follow Shindigs, and he does a lot of crazy and interesting stuff, usually just using OBS and some third-party tools. So I've been taking some inspiration from him and slowly working on things. But again, as I said, Lucky is a neurodivergent. He has ADHD, probably with, a good sprinkling of anxiety and depression on top of that. So I am usually not generally fussed unless someone gets on my ass. And then the other half of this shit, if someone gets on my ass, Lucky gets fucking mad. It's not a great combination, guys. It's really not. So, I need people to actually express a genuine interest in seeing me doing the thing more than just lukewarm responses for me to actually be committed to doing the bit. Like I said, we got the poll on. I'll get the poll going. So I will put it out there, but I am doubling down on this. It is on you guys to express interest in this. If you do not express interest, it will not happen. It is simple as that. So check out the poll on Discord. Check out the poll on the community. Vote yay or nay. And if I see a moderate to high amount of interest in it, based upon my expectations, I'll fucking go through it. If not, we won't, and you'll hear me yelling about it on probably next week's stream. Not stream, show. Yes, Legendary in chat saying, yeah, this is how I had to liberate that I wasn't actually calling you a fool. Yes, no, Lucky has very reactionary anger. Lucky is quick to anger. I'm also quick to let it go. Unless you keep saying stupid shit, then I'm just gonna stay mad.
I'm trying to record about wizards. Something. Man, there were some times where I would say about navigating the Lucky. It's a talent. Oh, yeah. It reminds me that it's God. I feel like just something we should get back to sometime. Fucking Jackbox streaming. We had a handful of those, and I'm like, man, some of those were funny, and some of those were not funny, but could have been funnier. I feel like a lot of the group of goobers I would grab, my grab goobers. There you go. I've invented another name that I can guess at least one person is uncomfortable with, possibly more. But the grab goobers, we've evolved a lot, and also many of our microphones have gotten better. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go ham, but it's one of those things of man, I miss it a little bit. Let's see, that was 3, I think. Try that again.
All right, now I have a small stockpile of embers. Excellent. So, with that, let us move on. I do think I have said everything I wanted to say on that subject.
Thumbs up. Sorry, I shivered in the middle of a thumbs up. Throw off my vibe a little.
Yeah. So, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one comes from the Tyrant King seriously contemplating his financial decisions over serialized cardboard crack. My dude, there's a reason why they call it cardboard crack. Emphasis on the crack part. God, I don't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I look at cards, I'm all like, man, I want some of these cards. Hey guys, now that Claymore has a live-action series in the works, what other 2000s animes might get a live-action series adaptation? Also, since the spring core is upon us, which anime are you looking forward to seeing? Anyway, that's it for me. Sending good vibes your way. Wah, 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 wah. And hope you have a great evening. Oh god, I haven't even looked at the spring core. Like, at all. Unfortunately, anime has not been my big highlight this core. Like, I've been making sure to watch, I finished up Daima. That was good. I hardly recommend it. Been watching, 100 Girlfriends That Really, 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 Really Love You, because that is peak. I will not tolerate any other slander. And I've been checking out, like, other things. Like, I left my A-rank party to party up with my pupils or something. That one's pretty good. I like that one. I've been meaning to catch up, the Red Ranger goes on an adventure in another world. But I also kind of read the manga for that one, so I'm not, like, super hyped on it. I should, like, really sit down and, like, check through things. Every once, like, because that's the fun thing about watching anime sometimes. Sometimes you're just like, oh, what is this? I don't know. I'm just going to start it up randomly, and you get immediately sucked in. This happened to me a couple times. But let's check what the anime spring 2025 core is looking.
Yeah, I
Type
have
it
not
into
been caught up on
Google.
anime. Like, honestly, because I think they sent me a note that they're planning on increasing their price. I've been thinking about maybe giving Crunchyroll the old snippa.
Get rid of it.
The budgets are rough, and I'm pretty sure like the anime that I'm like 100% vested in watching more of is Dandadan, and that's on Netflix already when that next season comes out. So, God forbid I may be able to do some kind of, technique that's oceanic in nature if my budgeting is truly that bad, which, listen, the economy's not great, chat. It may be that bad. The thing is that I have like TV that I'm locked in on that I'm like also really bad at. Like, people are talking a lot about the new Daredevil series on Disney Plus. I really need to watch that. There's gonna be a whole second season of Andor. I still haven't watched the first season, even though everybody said it's fucking rad. Like, I gotta catch up on TV. I still haven't watched like the last 2 seasons of Cobra Kai. That show's over now. Like, I'm bad about TV. I need to get back into a little bit of my TV phase. I just right now, honestly, as weird as this is, chat, the hobbies I'm locked in on is I melt my brain watching YouTube videos just to relax and zone out. Or the thing I do is like I'm capturing vibes to work on Rain. Like, that's my downtime. When I'm not doing stuff, it's like add some more Rain stuff.
Listen, I don't know if we'll have time, but I do want to talk about Rain. So, like, I just pulled up on my anime list, spring 2025 season. I'm gonna be real, guys. Like, there's a few things that, like, may be interesting, but there's nothing that makes me, snap and DiCaprio point that says, like, oh, I gotta watch that. Killing Slimes for 300 Years, that's getting a season 2. That one's nice. Haite Kudasai, Takamina-san. That one's interesting. But guys, I'm gonna level with you. There's something that I've actually been finding irritating that they do in, high school romance plots, in which the male MC is, just a boy, and he maybe, accidentally, does something to catches, the female MC and whatever secret she is. And the female's MC response is to snap a picture and immediately blackmail the male MC into doing her bidding. And this is never brought up again.
It's not great. That's not great. You wouldn't let that shit fly if the roles were reversed.
No. And usually that's how they start the relationship. And depending on, how the series goes, that might be either forgotten as true love, blossoms. But it's a premise thing that I am finding irritating more and more in the day.
I mean, what you're talking about is literally like it's becoming a cliche. It is becoming a overused trope, which is supposed to be a shorthand that it sounds like the writer doesn't even care about examining the implications of the thing. That's just like, oh, well, we just start this way and then we go from there.
Yeah.
That's starting to become cliche.
Like, there's a lot of series that start with that and are pretty good. What was it? Was it The Girl Under the Filter? I think it was. I can't remember. Anyway, the story basically goes is there's a girl who likes to take, suggestive erotic peek shots for like an alternate Twitter, and a guy discovers that, so she takes an incriminating evidence of him to blackmail him with. But 10 chapters then she's like, oh no, I love him. I'm just all like, you're blackmailing this dude. I'm gonna be real. Any relationship that is started on the basis of blackmail, I'm gonna be fucking sus of, my dudes. I can't trust anything. This is also because Lucky is a middle-aged old man, and I am very cynical and sarcastic about life. But boy, howdy.
I mean, also,
you can't let your hormones make all your choices, guys.
It's literally problematic, like, as the kids these days say. Like, that's not cool. I mean, you're kids, so, like, it shouldn't be, like, a permanent black mark on your record, but like that's the kind of thing where somebody, perhaps some sort of adult figure, should tell you like, hey man, that's not cool, don't do that, be normal.
Yeah, so like if it wasn't for that, I'd probably be a lot more excited for Haite Kudasai Takamine-san, but that's how that one starts. And I'm just all like, oh, I wanna like this, but I'm just like, I remember I actually got on this soapbox because people were talking about a manga series. I can't remember it, but guess what? It starts off the same. The premise is, the male MC has, gambling addicted parents who leave him with a bunch of debts, and the Yakuza come to collect it. The twist is, which I really like, is that the Yakuza were actually very kind and understanding. They're like, man, I know you got some problems, man. We know it ain't your fault. We'll try to figure something out, man. You want to come over for dinner? He actually had a really nice relationship with the Yakuza. But then the female MC comes in with a lawyer and says, you cannot make this child assume responsibility for the debt. That is fucking illegal. And then immediately turns around, tells MC, hey, we just settled that fucking debt for you, so now we own you. And I'm just like, what? Like it completely took me out of it. Everyone's else like, oh yeah, it's just in the first couple chapters and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but no, but that's just the entire basis for the relationship. It is a relationship of basically coercion. That's not what you base relationships on.
Guys, I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's some sort of endemical problems that we're still referencing. People going on. Is there a lot of debt in Japan, perhaps? Are people concerned about these kinds of things? Are they tired of working so gosh darned much?
Yeah, and so people are talking about, oh, yeah,
Also, actually, the video game I should be on the... Sorry, this is a complete tangent, but it is semi-anime related. Especially because they asked about 2000s anime. But there is a game I need to keep an eye on for my budget, but we'll see when I get around to it. But there is a brand new Bleach game coming out that looks pretty slick. Maybe doing trailers and stuff, but it's one of those things where I'll figure out the budget when I figure it out.
But yeah, so like, I don't know, like I guess it is because I'm becoming a crotchety old man, but it's just one of those things. If I look at these things aimed at young kids, I'm just all like, there are several questions I have about this, and it's kind of taking me out. I would love for that to be Eliza JP. I'm gonna be real, but no, it is not Lilith.
It's the Shadowed Woman for Ordeal Call number 4 because it says 4.
I really do actually hope that
coming spring.
Yeah.
By the way, on the 2000s question, I pulled up a list of classic, best of 2000s anime, and I'm like, I mean, it's all the ones you remember, but I'm looking at these and I'm like, man, some of these would not. I mean, some of them shouldn't have been translated to live action. Looking at you, Death Note, that didn't work out a couple of those times, but it's also like, man, I don't know what this would be. Like, unironically, I guess, unless they've already done it and I don't remember, you could probably do a live action Black Lagoon really easy.
That'd be pretty good.
That I think would be very serviceable. Especially if you did do the like Netflix ass adaptation shit, because half those people were not Japanese anyway. But like, do not put me up for live action Code Geass. Nope, that's not gonna fly. I don't think a live action Samurai Champloo could be as cool. So I don't know. Let us know your thoughts on 2000s anime.
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be the realist. Like, I know I got on my tangent about the meet cute, but I enjoy anime because it's animated. And animation, you can do wild and crazy things. Once you start doing live action, you are stuck within the realms of mortality and realism. And unless you start shelling out for the hyper expensive CG, things have to go a certain way. So
yeah, I mean, there's still some benefits. Like, there are some outliers. I don't think I ever actually told this story on here, but I should mention it. My family, especially my dad, they watch a lot of TV. My father's retired now, so when he's not working on the house, we're just watching TV or doing some other stuff. He doesn't watch animation at all. He watched all of the live action One Piece. Like, I don't think he knew it was adapted until like when I told him like on some of the later episodes. Watched it before I even got around to watching it. And he watched the whole thing. Like, he was bought in. He was following along. So I think they got, that adaptation is clearly doing something to reach a different audience, which is the good. But that's because, that's what you want out of adaptation. But yeah, otherwise, generally, I think you're correct, Lucky, in that, like, we've had a lot of talks about adaptation, usually about, I want to say, the jump from manga to anime. But occasionally, like, we've talked about even, like, books to movies or TV, or, like, the jump of, like, taking video games and adapting them to movies or even TV. But when you're adapting something, you are adapting it, right? You are changing its presentation, and you need to make adjustments for the medium. And generally, I think you're correct. Like I said, I looked at a lot of the big lists of 2000s anime, and I'm just like, yeah, most of these would not work in live action. They would not transition because you would lose something about it that's important. You can't make Gurren Lagann live action. It's not possible. I declare it. You can't do it. It wouldn't be right.
No, but there are, like, I pulled up a list of the best, like, 2000s anime, and it's thing, but there are some that I think would work actually pretty well as live action adaptations. Should they? I don't know, but they can work. First one that I can mention under this, Paranoia Agent. If you haven't seen Paranoia Agent, you should. It's a mindfuck. That's what it really is. It's a mindfuck the anime. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to do a lot of, it might still need a little bit of CG here and there for some of the more psychedelic things, but a lot of it is just based in realism and just, well, it's a mindfuck. Like, what does the boy with the golden bat on roller skates mean? Like, what is this mascot? Why does this woman have multiple personalities? Why is this man losing his mind? It's all there. And like I said, it's a very interesting premise. And I think it is, what's the word I want to say? Out there enough that you can probably adopt it to modern times without losing too much. This is one of those things you also have to be worried about with adapting things that are long ago. This is something I'm trying to get people to realize. The time back then is not the time now. People think culture, like, people are different and culture is different. How we consider things, completely fucking opposite. So what may have been okay 25 years ago is not okay now.
You could do Psycho-Pass in live action, but I would require you to get some real guys on the makeup for the exploding, because, like, most of Psycho-Pass is pretty low toned, not a big deal. But like, that show, I think, is made by, like, how mundane it looks and, like, how normal it is compared to then just the Enforcer going, lethal force authorized, and you just obliterate the top half of a man.
Also, I need the Enforcers to guns to actually transform, y'all. This is important to me.
This, at least, I know for a fact because I've seen them. They have props that do this, so that's like you could do that in live action. You could make the geometry works. God, first season of Psycho-Pass is so good, and then they tried to catch that fucking lightning in a bottle.
They tried.
The second season was not as good. It did not feel the same, and you know why? Well, yes, obviously it wasn't the same writers, but you know why? It's because they had a really good villain for the first season, and that was the point. That guy had to go. Yeah, I've heard the movie is good because Urobuchi stayed on it. I still haven't seen it. I should track that down some way.
I think
but yeah, no. I think I've seen, from what I've seen of the footage, the live action Rurouni Kenshins are good, but like I said, those were made in Japan, where the budgets aren't always as hot when Japan does live actions of animes, but usually I feel like they have a little more respect for, like, we need some fucking VFX down here. Mm-hmm. Like, we need to spice this up a little. But I've seen the choreo for some of the live action Kenshin stuff, and it's good. They're doing cool stuff with swords. But yeah, no, the people like to think that, like, we live in this, like, eternal state, or just, the rose-tinted glasses of just, 15 or 20 years ago, everything was fine. It's only now that we've had, problems. Nah, it's not true. Different cultures are different. This is a bit of discourse that I really don't want to get into, because I know that it's one of those things that's like, 3 more years of X discourse for some reason. But recently, Atlas trademarked, they locked in a P4RE URL. This is literally the exact same format of URL they locked in before they announced the Persona 3 remake. So the odds is they are either planning a P4 remake project of the same scale as P3 Reload, or they are hedging their bets somehow. And a lot of people are like, I expected a P4 remake. I was just maybe thinking it would be Persona 6 first. For P3, I think for the most part, while there are a couple of interactions that, like, are maybe a little weird today in the English script, P3's, like, themes and characters and stuff are pretty alright. There's a fuck ton of discourse about characters in P4 specifically, because one of P4's major themes is, like, truth and being yourself. And there's a lot of different ways to interpret who some characters are being themselves. And honestly, I mean, it's, even if I don't necessarily think they're bad writing, there are some character arcs that are just kind of boring. Yukiko realizes that her real self is that she wants to inherit the inn anyway, just maybe she wants some time to be herself first. And I'm like, cool. I guess that means your character arc is a closed loop, but that's fine. You did at least work on it, you know? And people are like that in real life, so it's not like wrong. It's just like I said, it's like that could have been more fun. But like I said, people are like, oh man, I'm concerned that like somehow they'll change something and like fuck it up and make the discourse worse, or even if it's the exact same fucking discourse we've been having for like 20 years, it's gonna be miserable. If they don't change anything, we're still gonna be stuck here. So like that's the thing you're talking about, where like the times change and stuff that like got through back then is not the same, and whether that is like socio-political or just like I want to say like technique wise, like if you watch an anime from like the early 2000s, you know, pre-cheap CGI, right? And like done for 4x3 is a very different vibe. Like older anime literally has like different color palettes and different look to it because they're doing different techniques, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that means even if they remade something literally even in the same genre, like if they do an anime remake, you're looking at a lot of different stuff. Whereas like, you know, modern anime, and obviously there's some complaints now about the use of CGI and stuff still, but there's a lot more budget available to people to like, and a lot more tech stuff.
Yep. But I do have a few more on my list that will probably make a pretty good anime adaptation.
Fire it off. We've only crossed an hour.
Yeah. So next one up on my list is, I don't know if many guys have seen this one, but it's one of my old school classics. It's Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad.
Never seen it, but have heard of it.
Yeah. It's basically about a group of youths who decide to get into music and tackle the music industry. You know, has inspirations from old school grunge like Nirvana and whatnot. It's very good, and then, like I said, it's nothing necessarily fancy, but just deals with a bunch of kids trying to get into music and what those trials and tribulations are like. Like I said, Black Lagoon already mentioned. Let's see here, which other one would I think?
Just make sure you use real squibs. Don't CGI the gunshots.
Another one that'd probably be really good, Nana. I do believe that Nana already has a live action adaptation, but I'm pretty sure we can do Nana again and maybe rewrite the ending a little bit. I'm gonna be real, because Nana is a very good series that just had a really bad ending.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
God, sorry, I just realized this is another thing. Go ahead, finish your thought, but because I have another tangent.
Got it. Like, Ouran High School Host Club is on here. And that could be fucking entertaining, but also I feel like that's its own powder keg.
That's another one that I think was like of its time, and not like I'm saying like, oh, it was old and racist of its time. I mean, just like, no, we were just in a different spot, and you couldn't make that same vibe today.
No, because like, God, like Haruhi is just, you know, pretty much just asexual. She does not necessarily care about her gender, and that is like, you know, like one of the main points of her character is why she can do all these things. It's just like, she's like, yeah, I'm a girl. What of it? She doesn't care either way, but I feel like in today's climate, you know, that would just get dragged everywhere.
Yeah, it would be a thing where people would want to fight about it.
And it's just like, no, it's like you're not supposed to really care either. It's, you know, just part of the setting. It's like, I don't know, man. Lucky's too old for this shit.
A show that should not get a live-action adaptation, but I am reminded of because of the 2000s, and I was reminded because they've announced they're doing a 20th anniversary project, which makes me feel old. But Etika 7, Psalms of the Planets. That's a show. I'm one of the. I feel like whenever I bring it up, there aren't usually too many people who are like, "Oh yeah," but I'm one of those guys who'll go to bat. Great series. Honestly, the original like 50 episode run might be a little long. Like it may. I don't think I've ever like sat down and been able to live through an entire rewatch of the series, despite the fact that that is one of the very few series I own entirely on DVD. Pre-Blu-ray even. That's a lot. It's a lot of DVDs. You can't fit as many episodes on DVDs, chat. Though I've gone so far as to listen to the fucking commentary with the Japanese actors, which is funny because there's like double subtitles. Anyway, I also am one of the few people who likes the original series who I will go to bat for the sequel, AO. AO's not perfect, and it suffers from, I think, a lot of problems that a lot of sequel series to anime that have ambiguous but generally pretty upbeat endings are, which is like, well, how do we introduce new conflict? But it's Etika 7, so also they get weird. There's a lot of philosophy and other bullshit in there, but AO, I think, suffers from the problem that all mecha anime suffered from in the like late 2000s to early 2010s block, which is like they got halfway through the series and they had to do a shitload of rewrites because like they changed time slots or one of the writers left or the directors and the writers couldn't agree on what the fuck they were doing.
This happens a lot.
It does. It happens a lot, especially to mecha, because I can at least off the top of my head name that's what happened with Code Geass. The second season is a mess because they like changed time slots and like had to switch a lot of ideas because they were the first season of Code Geass was on like late night equivalent in Japan, and then they switched to prime time because it was so popular. So like they had to switch up some vibes. IBO is another series, Iron Blood Orphans, where like the first season was like very self-contained and was honestly even a little upbeat for the tone of the show at the end, and was like way more popular than they were getting. So there was a lot of second guessing in the writing room to the point where I believe like literally the way they tell the story anyway is the writers like rebelled against the director about the ending and stuff. I'm not sure who it was, but one of the parties wanted to kill even more characters for the ending, which is astonishing for Iron-Blooded Orphans. So it happens a lot with mecha, but I like AO for what it is, which is, like I said, they tried to figure out something to do with the continuation, and it also has a arguably positive but open-ended philosophical ending. So I'm very curious what they're going to do for a 20th anniversary project. Will they just remake the anime again? Will they make a third sequel series? They could just make a second sequel series because the original sequel series, like I said, involved time travel, so we could just do something different. There was the like alternate universe movies they did. Also, had some great PS2 games that are canon. edX7 owned both of those, so I'm excited for that. Could not do that shit in live action. Also, yes, the patron chat's talking about, can we get the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood of Rosario 2 Vampire or Rosario plus Vampire? Yes, actually, I would appreciate that. I read that manga.
They're probably pretty good. We have been getting more remakes of older franchises and stuff. Not too long ago, they actually did the full version of Fruits Basket, which was fairly popular for its time, I want to say. So things aren't off the table.
Yeah, I want to say that. There's a weird, like, talking about the 2000s, right? There are a lot of anime that were like, actually, this is a conversation I had with Marth on Fail Betrayal this week. I was talking about how, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes are really, really fucking long, and we just don't do that anymore. But they're still long. The current Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, Go Rush, is going to be like 150 episodes, which is like crazy these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, talking about the in the 2000s, it was pretty common to get like anime series that, even though they were going to be blocked in for the full 52, right? That was still not enough to cover all the manga material.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to come up with, like, different endings. That was the original Full Metal Alchemist. That was Soul Eater got mentioned in chat, shit like that. Like, and it really is interesting to, like, look back on a lot of these series that were, like, very, very solid mangas that were longer running, and the anime didn't quite catch up. And I am interested to see if we will see more of that, because I feel like these days, manga is kind of changing. You're getting a lot more manga that are also being, like, shorter, either because the audience is losing interest and the publishers, the magazines decide to drop them, or honestly, a thing I think I've seen going around a couple times, it feels like sometimes like the authors are like losing interest and are not as locked in on doing like 9,000 pages or 9,000 chapters, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the only guy who's going absolutely apeshit these days is Ishiro Oda of One Piece, and his series is so like locked in for the century that he can afford to like take breaks. And he's like, where are you going to find another one of me, right? Where are you going to get another One Piece? You won't. It doesn't exist anymore. Like, I think we may be in like a different era. I have no comments about the author of Oshiroko and Kaguya-sama. But I have heard that as well about, because they're working on a new project, I believe. But yeah, we live in like interesting times of, you know, like where we are with authors and like both for manga and anime. So there are definitely some like you know, remakes, remasters I wouldn't mind seeing.
Mm-hmm. But as a final no. Oh wait, Ahara-sen has a second season. I'll watch that. That's cute. Especially since they actually got together at the end of the first season. So we get to see them being a couple in the second season. This is important. But on the last thing, fun thing that Claymore is getting a live action series. The author of that series, I can't actually remember his name off the top of my head. But actually, my favorite series of his is not Claymore. It's actually one of his earlier works. It's called Angel Densetsu. Legend of the Angel. It's basically about a high school boy who just looks absolutely terrifying that everyone's fucking afraid of him. But he's actually the most sweetest, most kind-hearted boy you ever knew. And just him living in a life where everyone thinks he's a fucking thug and him just trying to, be a good person. That is something that, I don't need a live action of that. Just give me an actual anime adaptation of that. I love it. It's so good.
Yorihiro Yagi, by the way.
Ah, thank you.
And yes, Angel Densetsu is the series he did just before Claymore. And apparently his second or third, I should say, big serialized recently wrapped. Ariadne and the Blue Sky. That was until 2023.
Ah, guys still doing that? That's rad. I didn't know that.
He had a one shot last year called The Knight and the Corpse. One shot, 2024. Don't know what it's about because there's not a Wikipedia link, but yeah. I like that there's just a random fact they've got recorded on Wikipedia page. Yagi's favorite thing to do in his spare time is listen to hard rock music, play video games, drive, and perform martial arts. Living the life.
Sometimes
homie.
You want to know.
Well, it's one of those things of hey, he's the realest, homie.
But I think that is enough on that. I think we have spent over fucking half hour on that. This
probably we are now at an hour 15, but that's okay. We're only at an hour 15.
We're only at an hour 15. So we're gonna move on to the last, but definitely not the least, Agent 418, who says, "Hello, Lucky Omega. Have a good weekend, y'all. Thank you. I plan to. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but I am vibing for rain. I know we tried to maybe try to skip it, but no, I want to talk some rain. I'm going to talk some rain later.
Well, I think we'll have time at this rate.
Yeah,
we don't mind talking about rain. Yeah, rain's always a good vibe. We should be locked in for next time to wrap up all our threads. That was my Thursday. I want to keep my schedule loose because as we may also be mentioning later, but there's some 14 stuff going on, so I want to keep my schedule loose to jump into that, and I may still want to keep that loose tonight. I don't know if we are or not going back there. I know, like I said, some of the boys want to do some 14, but we'll see what's up with sleeping and stuff. But I did my Thursday afternoon of just catching up and making sure all my rain run stuff is locked in. But we'll get to that after the other stuff, because first it's free talk. Well, I guess I have to ask, Lucky and the patron chat the question. So in free talk, I've technically got the Fanservant Friday listed first because I wrote that note 2 weeks ago now to remember, and then wrote the LILIM HARLOT pregame below. What would you guys think would be better to go to first, FSF or the pre-pregame? That was me finishing my 6 Ember Gathering. The people seem to want the pregame.
Alrighty.
Let's go there. All right. The LILIM HARLOT pregame. I forgot to mention it earlier as well, when Lucky gave the spoiler warning, but I will reiterate the general spoiler warning. Hey, if you're one of those people who likes to do FGO events completely blind, listening to a kind of pre-guide about an event, it's not a blow-by-blow, but we got some stuff in here. You may get some spoilers. So, yeah. Consider jumping around and coming back when we do other stuff. And as I mentioned before, but I will reiterate again, because, it's literally been an hour 15 of real time, and you may be jumping around a little on the topics as well. I'm firing the pregame here because we are kind of loosey-goosey on when this is actually going to proc, but there is a non-zero chance that by the time this, the show next week goes live to public, that the event could technically be starting. If it's, if the pre-release starts tonight, as in, an hour and a half from now, and goes 7 days, we could be firing the event, the same night we record the next show. So we're doing it now just to make sure we have the buffer room. And also because I correctly predicted that the show would not be turbo long this week without it. So we're doing it now. Honestly, LILIM Heart's one of those events that's it's a collab, but also this should be a pretty major event. It's going to have 2 halves, broken up by time gates. Literally they have a part 1 and a part 2. And it is also a 100 missions event.
We haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah. So yes, it'll be 100 missions and also, like I said, time gates. So you'll be, it'll be one day we'll launch a new free quest and you'll have the ability to unlock a couple of story nodes. And then, you got to clear missions to get them. But it should be pretty bulky. Now, this is another fun one. We're doing that trick again. You only need to clear Fuyuki to participate, but it does warn there may be spoilers up through LB3. And I'm going to be honest, the difficulty on some of the back half is more like a post-LB3 event. It starts pretty mild, but the part 2 can get a little big numbie. There will be some tools to help you assuage that, but we're not necessarily putting on our kid gloves. This is not like a summer, where I think most summer events, the actual fights in story have been mostly baby mode since the beginning. Some of the other mechanics, not so much. I still remember farming so many piles of ingots and logs. Ugh, stone. Anyway, to put a point on how long this is going to be, it's going to be 17 sections, plus a prologue and an epilogue. Technically, I think there are main story chapters that are shorter than this. So, yeah. We're going to be here a while. Especially because we're doing that thing we've done in a couple of events where, like, there's, a section that's labeled, like, Act 5, and you'll do a couple of quests, and then you'll break in the middle to go do some more missions, and then do, Act 5, Part 2. So some of these sections will be staggered as well. So there's quite a lot of content here, really making you feel the 3-week format. But that means, of course, rewards. So completing all of this is going to net you 22 Saint Quartz, 1 Holy Grail, a 3-star CE, and first the temporary, then the permanent Saber Satanta welfare.
Let's go, Kushota! And the fangirls rejoiced.
Little Ku is coming. And yes, he is the welfare, and you will get your temporary, I believe, somewhere in the front half, and then the permanent is the reward for finishing the event. Also, in the first half, there'll be something called extra quests. In the back half, there will be encore quests in the main story area. Extra quests are basically just for some materials. There's some extra stuff you can farm that will, probably give you some mission clearance and get you some materials extra. The encore quests that are available post-story are for the extra NP copies of your welfare, as usual. The significant mechanical twist to all this you will be unlocking throughout the event is something called command support. So, your allies in the story will augment your command cards with certain buffs, which then need turns to reset after activating them. Listing out who gives what would be some spoilers, but there's going to be quite a few of them. I think there's 8 to 10 of them. But be aware you'll get some bonuses, and while I don't have footage or graphics explaining this, because it is linked to command cards, I assume the way this works is you'll pull up your command hand, and then you'll see that some of your command cards will be marked by certain ally effects. And these can be things like giving you a stun chance on the marked command card, giving enemies attack down when you hit with the marked command cards, So keep it all in mind. But I'm pretty sure when we've done these kinds of effects before, there have been visual markers, so you should be able to tell. Now, expect in general, when doing story fights, you're going to be fighting a lot of servants. You're also going to be fighting a lot of old favorite mobs, but you will be fighting plenty of servants. Since this is a Fuyuki clear, the HP levels don't get too crazy to start. A lot of your bosses in the front half of the event are going to be 100 to 120-ish K. There are a few break bars later on, and I want to call out a handful of fights you need to be aware of. Sorry, I just double tapped over the patron chat. Yeah, patron chat is a good way to describe it. They're basically extra command codes, but aren't command codes. You're just going to see little servant buffs appear on cards. But I have an important note for y'all. So, this event is going to feature, Draco / Mother Harlot. She's coming. You're going to have to fight her at a couple of points in the story. So, Draco is our first playable beast class servant, and I want to explain to you, if it's your first time, how her class advantage works, because it's kind of important. And also, they've formatted her to be annoying. She takes half damage and deals 1.5 damage to the original 7 servant classes. Except this is technically a lie. She still deals double damage to berserkers. So don't use berserkers in those fights. They'll get double stomped on. But Draco deals half and takes double from the extra classes. That's all extra classes. So this is important to note for fights where you will have to face either her or other enemies that have her beast class typing. This is also why a lot of people are some people are a little disappointed she's not in normal lucky bag summonings and stuff like that, because she is also a pretty strong servant, with 7 wide class advantage. But keep it in mind. If you're curious, Space Aresh is the other way, basically. She deals bonus damage to most of the extra classes, but is not as strong against the original 7 servants. So in Act 5 acts, there's going to be an alter ego boss. He's going to have a break bar. They're going to have 63, then 77k HP. There are ads that spawn before them that you got to beat up. When the boss arrives, the enemies will get attack up and you get attack down. And when you break the boss's first bar, the ads will get extra 1 NP tick per turn. But that all doesn't matter. You just got to be the boss to win. When the boss shows up, just focus fire. Speaking of the... Good?
No, I just said blam him.
Yeah, that's how we go. Speaking of my point earlier about how these are kind of sometimes... I guess the term is bifurcated. Act 7, Part 2. So Act 7, after you clear a mission to get the flip, there's going to be a caster boss with 103k HP. That's their first break bar. You have to break their bar to win, but you have to do it in 5 turns or you lose. So you have 5 turns to do 103k HP, or it's game over. And the next pip is going to be a beast fight paired with that same caster boss with 184k and 203k HP respectively. Draco is going to get some buffs. She gets attack up when she defeats one of your units, for instance. But the caster boss from before has some debuffs because, I don't know, presumably you were kicking its ass in the first half. Act 8's going to have a very annoying thing. You're going to have to fight 203k Karna and Arjuna. They're both in here. And they both fire NP every turn. They get max NP every turn. Jesus. But when they're hit by a normal attack, they NP seal themselves. But there's 2 of them, chat. You may notice a problem here. If you allow me to editorialize, you're going to want to beat up Karna first because he has permanent pierce invul. Arjuna, on the other hand, has his instant kill rate increased. So don't bring any divine servants. I think that's how his NP works. Yeah. So a little mean stuff. Act 10, you're going to have to fight a Ku Alter and a Skahak. Ku Alter just has 80k HP, no big deal. Skahak's only got 48 and 53k HP. You have to put Satanta in your front row, and that's your Satanta, by the way. So make sure you're leveling. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. He will get story buffs, though. But also, hey, remember I said Ku Alter just has 80k HP? Yeah, that's a lie. That motherfucker has 3 times 100% guts and taunts when he gutses.
Are those... Do you know if those guts are removable?
I believe they are unremovable. Let me check right now.
Son of a bitch.
But no, I believe the intent is to make you kill him 4 fucking times because they hate you. And also, Skahak's thing is that she will, when you break her break bar, she will automatically fully charge your NP and also get critical up. Now, luckily, she's only single target, so you don't need to worry about your whole party getting wiped, but keep an eye out for this bullshit. Yes, the wiki says this effect is unremovable for the guts.
Son of a bitch.
He also has a chance-based evade. So, like, it's one of those things where, like, 80k is not, like, a problem, but 80k, like, 4 times can be annoying.
It can be a problem.
It could be a problem. Could be a concern. In Act 10... No, not Act 10. Sorry, Act 12. We did Act 10. Act 12, you gotta fight a bunch of Jacks. A lot of Jack the Rippers. One of which, after you do the first 104k HP, turns into a saber. So being assassin turns into a saber. Also, your squad will being debuffed with a attack down and stun every turn. This is not a forced, though. It goes off normal resistances. So bring servants with high debuff resist. And you have to put Satanta in the front row for this fight. The next pip in Act 12, you are only armed with Draco and Tiamat and have to beat up a Nero who turns into a giant ghost.
We can't escape them! Giant ghosts!
I'm pretty sure, judging by what this enemy is called, the giant ghost is because FGO is cowards and they haven't given us Agrippina the Younger yet. That's Nero's mother.
Okay.
I'm suspecting that a system where you beat up Jack the Ripper and she turns into Shadow Nero, and then the next fight you beat up Shadow Nero and she turns into a giant ghost. There's themes here. There's subtext. Also, I'm not explicitly spelling out the format, chat, but if you're paying attention to the names of enemies I'm listing, you may have thoughts about what the subtext of this event is. We're having to fight some enemies we may have seen before. So...
Deja vu.
Yeah. Where were we? Act 14. We got some stuff. So first of all, we have a Demon Pillar, but he's a Saber. He's a Saber Demon Pillar. He's got 310 and 351k HP. He has sure hit all the times and a one-time 100k guts. Also, the next fight sounds annoying. You have to solo Draco as Nero. You will get some story buffs, but it is a solo NPC fight. And then it's going to end on a fight with a assassin who has 303k HP and some assassin mobs. All 3 of the enemies will poison you on normal hit for 3 turns. Act 15, you have to fight Draco, but it's fake. You just have to break her first 227 bar, and then you get to move on. Act 13, or Act 16 is funny. You have to fight some ads, and then at the end there are 2 dragons. One dragon is a caster, one dragon is a lancer. I have annoying buffs and break bar shit. One of them gets, like, damage resistance that you remove by attacking it with each color of command codes, and, like, the other one has, like, 3 hits of invincible. And when they break bar, they'll do shit like get an evade, or a chance-based evade, or, start gaining extra NP ticks. They are 118 and 133k HP, and 98, 123k HP, respectively. Act 17 is the final boss. The final boss, it has a unique class advantage where they do double damage to everybody except Tiamat and Draco, and they take half damage from everybody except Tiamat and Draco. In fight number 1, you need to do 541k damage while you have been debuffed for 7 turns, and also they have some buffs. They have a collection of basically all of the story buffs that all of the previous bosses you have fought are. I believe the debuffs are removable, but they are for 7 turns. The second fight is real. Like it's an actual fight with all the remaining HP bars. You are going to be NPC locked. You will have to use story NPCs and put a NPC Draco in your front row, but she gets buffs, and the enemy who still has their unique class advantage is going to be 440, 420, 401k HP.
Please.
So, gonna have some actual fights on the back half. Some of these will be meaty. I think it just says Draco must be in the front row, so it's probably the NPC or friendly only version. And then you get to pick story support slots. So yeah, keep that in mind. And yes, as I said, the Act 1, the first half, normal shit. The back half, we're not playing around. These are definitely LB3 ass numbers. Free quests are going to be a lot simpler. At the most, you're going to have to do like 180k HP. They are mostly monoclass, but a few of them, they do like to stick some, they do annoyingly stick some extra classes in there, so you can't just turbo them out. I feel like they felt like they had to do this specifically just because the 2 bonus servants for this event are Tiamat, who is an alter ego and thus has a lot of class advantages, and Draco, who's one of her major class points is that she has a shitload of class advantages. So they've thrown some shit in here to fuck with you. That said, I think for the most part, Berserkers still just, rip it and ship it. But your normal 90 node is, let me scroll. I think that one is actually, thank God, completely monoclass. Yes, it is all, the final node is all sabers. Your final boss is 176k. For your special nodes, your 90 plus node is Lancers and is 221, with the final boss being 376,000 HP.
Okay.
Your 90 plus node is 131. The first one has 576k HP, and the last one has 1 million HP.
They always do the fucking 1 million on the third.
I know, yeah. It's a writer, and they are going to be a servant, so they're going to have traits and shit you can work with. So there's probably something you can do with single target alter egos or assassins to take care of that. Me, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this shit with the 90 pluses. The 90 plus, like I said, 221, that's weird, but we can work with that. And it's going to be Lancers. Send in my boy, Muramasa to clear up a couple waves and, find somebody single target to wrap up that one. I wonder if I can get my Dioscuri to do 300, almost 400k damage with some jumps. They are all monoclass, so they're all Lancers and all Riders. So thank God there's no thing where they do 3 Berserkers and they hide a Moon Cancer in the last wave. No, it's all one class. So one class advantage fits all. You just gotta mix up your targetings. There is also going to be a damage CE, which MLB is plus 200%. So you'll have a little bit of wiggle room, but we'll talk about that in a second because, of course, to be progressing, to keep unlocking story quests, to unlock free quests, you're gonna need to clear some missions. You're gonna get the usual stuff where you'll clear missions by progressing specific story nodes or clearing a specific amount of free quests in certain areas. There are a shitload of missions related to defeating specific types of enemies, traits, classes, alignments, attributes, all kinds of shit. Expect to have to kill 60 skeletons, chat.
I mean, that's the usual.
Yeah, the normal stuff. But if it's been a while since you tried this out, you got to defeat 50 skeletons and 60 undeads, and you got to defeat 150 lancers, that kind of shit. But they also have attributes and classes specifically as well. But also, the things I want you to watch out for is you're going to need to get at least 600 of each of the 3 drop currencies. They're staggered over several missions, but the maximum is 600. And you are also going to have to work on your Satanta welfare. The usual stuff of get him to at least Bond 3, get him to 3rd Ascension, and clear at least 20 quests with him. And then, of course, the last 5 missions are basically complete all the missions, broken down. So obviously this is needed to unlock all of the story. You got your specific missions to get in there. But this is also going to give you things like all the command codes are in the mission unlocks. You got some QP in there. You got some mana prisms. You got some apples. This is where all of Satanta's ascension mats are. As I mentioned before, there are more leaves in the mission rewards. There are some skill gems, and there are materials such as hero proofs, chaos claws, mirrors, spinal fluids, chains, ghost lanterns, Lanugos, eggs, night metals, seeds, magatamas, twilight blades, big bells, comet shards. You've also got 1 copy of the Setanta NP, so your final copies in the missions. 1 damage CE copy, 2 summon tickets, 2 lures. And yes, thank God, that does mean that all CE copies are accounted for. However, another fun mechanic is your command support skills are improved by clearing missions as well.
Oh.
So yeah, those will keep improving as time goes on as well. So you're incentivized to work on your missions. Now, the shop has 4 damage CE copies, thank God. 2 more lures. That means there's like 5 lures in this event, I think, because there's still a challenge quest, and then there's 2 in the shop, 2 in the mission list. Gonna get you access to your Setanta coins, your usual EXPs and foes, and additional materials such as bullets, dragon fangs, poison stingers, soaps, which is what we call Aurora Steels, homunculi babies, tupa crystals, silver crowns, phoenix feathers, bloodstones, obsidian knives, if you're hurting for those, bicorn horns, gallstones, dragon scales, and Lancer Rider Assassin statues. So a decent spread of materials to unlock through this decently sized event. And to make clearing your missions and quests easier, you do get some bonus servants. Setanta, Locusta, Draco, and Tiamat are all plus 100% damage, plus 50% bond. So those are all your big winners. Caskill, Jack the Ripper, Ku Alter, Jacques, and Lady Avalon are all 50% damage up and 20% bond up. And in my show notes, I wrote, there is a huge list for 30% attack up that I am not writing down because it was a lot. So, I've pulled up the wiki. I will now read to you every servant who gets a 30% damage up. This is in class order, by the way. So, Arthur, Astolfo Saber. Actually, hold on. Can I simplify this? No, this is not literally everyone in the core 7 classes. It's too few for that, I think. Yeah, no, we're missing like a lot of bronzes and stuff. But God, there's a lot. So, once again. Arthur, Saber Astolfo, Altera, Regular, Artoria Saber, Okita, Muramasa, Nero Bride, Musashi, Mordred. Sorry, like I said, there's so many of these. Shiki Saber, Artoria Alter, Saber Alter, Summer Hokusai, Siegfried, Chevalier, Summer Maeve, Nero, Gaius Julius Caesar, Gilda Reyes, Arjuna, Summer Artoria, Ishtar, Gilgamesh, Moriarty. Sorry, my brain is like trying to like it's doing that human pattern recognition thing, and then I keep being wrong. I'm like, is it your like part 1 servants? No, fucking Moriarty's in here. So it's just a lot. I think all of these guys may correspond to our servants that are in arcade, maybe the thing.
It probably is.
But obviously, you guys aren't going to know who was in arcade off the top of your head, so I will continue to list. Summer Jean, Seishonagon, Fujino, Atlanta, Emiya, Nobu, Chloe, Lancer Artoria, Enkidu, Aresh Kigal, Karna, Skahak, Summer Tomo, Bradamante, Lancer Alter, Liz. That's right, they did do Summer Paisen in arcade, didn't they? But yeah, Summer Paisen, Lancer, Summer Raiko, Benke, Leonidas, Maid Alter, Iskander, Ozymandias, Renez, Drake, Da Vinci Rider, Marie Antoinette, Ryder Martha, Boudica Medusa, Blackbeard, Georgios, St. George, Ilya, Waver, Scotty. Very funny to me, by the way, that I am reasonably certain, yes, there was a Scotty banner in arcade, but that doesn't make any gosh darn sense. Regular Tomo, Merlin, Big Da Vinci, Miyu, Medea Lily, Cascu, Gilles de Reyes, the caster version as well. Mozart, Osakabe Hime, Shuten, Koyan of Light, Old Man Hassan, Carmilla, Gray, Summer Nido, but not regular Nido. Regular Assassin Shiki, Izo, Cursed Arm, Phantom, Matahari, Vlad, Berserker, Kintoki, Nightingale, MHXA, Summer Musashi, Morgan, Ibaraki Doji, Summer Jolter, Herc, Lancelot, Berserker, Kyuhime, Caligula, Paul Bunyan, Amakusa, Ruler, Artoria, Buntoria, Sherlock, Jean, Astrea, Dantes, Jolter, Melt, Lip, both BBs, Summer Abbey, Hokusai, and Double X. All of those get 30% bond. So I'm pretty sure that's the entire roster of arcade, and it's also very funny to me. But yeah, they're all over the place. Regular Jolter has a 30% damage bonus, which is going to be, like I said, very funny because I mentioned that Draco's Beast class means that she's weak to all extra classes. So honestly, you've got a pretty good spread here. There's quite a few old welfares that are in here. Sadly, none of the guys in the new Evocation Festival made the cut, but there may be some overlap with their bonus damage anyway. But there's quite a few low-rarity old school servants in there, a couple of old welfares, and a decent spread of, 4 and 5 stars you've probably seen. So, you should have some options. Like I said, there's a lot of classics in there. It's very funny to me that, like, we're doing an event, in what for us is the year 2025, and, like, regular old Herc and Berserk-a-Lot are in that list. We're really cruising. So you should have plenty of options. And, of course, Mash also gets plus 30% damage, but instead of doing 20% bond, she does 5% bond to all allies, because she is Mash. Also, we're going to get a bucket full of rank ups for this.
Ooh, really?
Yes, there should be new rank ups for Jacques Demole, Casgale, Nightingale, Mordred, Nero, and Lancer Alter.
Okay.
And to, because I had the wiki tab open up anyway, to let people know what those will be. That's going to be Jacques' Innocent Monster is going to get ranked up, which is just they changed that it's they gave the effect where she that's the one that gives her the increased damage versus curse.
Mm-hmm.
Her rank up is that she now gives the enemy's curse for 3 turns first. Also, so just she curses them and then she does bonus damage.
Excellent.
It's a static like 500 curse, but it is designed to make her damage a little more consistent. Caskill's King's Return is going to go from rank A. That's his already pretty good skill that gives the whole party plus 100% critical star generation. It's now a 20 to 30% battery for him and a 10 to 20% battery for the whole party. So that's a 50% battery for him.
Ooh,
and
nice.
Also still gives you plus 100% star rate. So yeah, Caskill eating good.
Yeah.
Nightingale's Angel's Cry, which was her targetable buster up for 3 turns, is now going to also generate 10 to 20 stars, and also gives the ally 3 turns of extra crit damage on buster crits, specifically. Mordred's getting her mana burst upgraded, so it's now Knight of Crimson Thunder, so it is now not 1 turn, it's going to be 3 hits, 3 turns. A thing they've done with a lot of mana bursts to turn them from 1 turn steroids. But also, she gets a 20 to 30% buster crit damage for 3 turns. And also, it's finally she has her own charisma, because it's just for her. But she gets 10 to 20% attack up for 3 turns. I will be eating well off this. Nero's getting her, 7th rank up. Vanilla Nero. It's okay. She was, having a weird time. But her Imperial Privilege is being upgraded. So this is the one that gives her 3 turns of arts up, 20 to 30%, and also gain 10 stars per turn for 3 turns. And the arts up is not random. And lastly, I cannot believe it took them this long to do it, but Lancer Alter's Charisma E, which is dog shit, is finally getting buffed. Charisma E was 12% attack up for the party for 3 turns at maximum. Now it's going to be 10 to 20%, and also it's going to give her 3 turns of extra damage versus lawful and versus good, 20 to 30%. So, giving her a little bit of a damage niche. So all of those should fire with the new event. Those are all pretty solid buffs that people are going to be looking forward to.
Yeah.
And also remember, if you clear a rank up, those are each worth 2 SQ, and you may unlock milestones that way. So, feel free to dive in. And to wrap this up, there are going to be only a couple of banners for this. Obviously, the pre-release campaign is Tiamat. We don't know exactly when that's going to go on ahead of time, but it should be about a week before they fire. We still got an hour over here before we find out if that's tonight or not. So we'll probably still be going, because we haven't done Fanservice Friday or any of our What's Up stuff.
Yeah.
And the actual main summon campaign will be Draco and Locusta as the 4-star, both of whom I believe are limitado. And yeah, that is your pre-game on LILIM HARLOT. Should be interesting. There's gonna be a lot of story content to go through, hopefully. But like I said, we'll be probably spaced out pretty decently by firing off your missions to beat up 40 skeletons and stuff. So yeah. And like I said, we don't know exactly when that's going to proc. Presume it will be probably a week from when they start the pre-release, but maybe not. Who knows? Well, before we do What's Up then, that means it's time for the much-vaunted Fanservice Friday.
Woo.
I've just literally not started a new poll for March because we're so behind on the what was the February poll.
That'd be how it be.
Yeah, we like I said, March has been cursed. It's been real rough. So I just decided to just not do a new poll until I'd cleared out the last one, and it's taken until now. It's like a month overdue. But I will say still thank you to the patrons who did vote on this, because they did overwhelmingly vote for Lancer Cadmus, which was my request. Thank you. And that's where we are. So if y'all don't know about Cadmus, besides just as a thing they mentioned in DC, Cadmus is a Phoenician prince who is the founder of what they call the Boeotian Thebes. Basically, you may or may not know, there is a Greek city called Thebes, which is a little confusing because there is a Egyptian city called Thebes. That's not what the Egyptians originally called it, but that's what the Greeks wrote it down as. So, that's not confusing at all. Thanks, Greeks. But Cadmus is the founder of the Grecian Thebes, Prince of Phoenicia. The big thing that is important about him is, one, he is considered one of the big three heroes besides Perseus and Bellerophon before the days of Heracles.
Oh.
So he's a very classic generation. And also, he is the son of King Agenor, which means he is brother of legendary mythological figures of Phoenix, Cilix, and most importantly, Europa. So he is Europa's brother. So there's a great connection to FGO there. And also does mean that means mythologically he can trace his ancestry back to Poseidon, so he is part of that lineage as well. And the founding myth is kind of funny because basically, if you guys remember from Europa's backstory, Zeus had her touch a magical bull and glued to it.
Yep.
And that guy ran away.
As always.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Especially because, like I said, Cadmus was like, "Do not worry, father and mother. I, Cadmus, will go forth and find my sister." Obviously, because we, the audience, understand that that's not going to work out for him because Europa was carried off by Zeus. He can't do that. So, depending on the version of the myth, he either realizes that he can't, because Cadmus did a dumb and he was like, "I will not return home until I find her." Don't do that. Don't say that shit. You're going to get exiled forever. So he went to a sacred island called Samothrace, and he did this either because he could not find Europa or he realized it was Zeus's fault and he was like, "Man, I can't beat that guy." And basically, the gods were like, "Okay, homie, we're sorry. You cannot complete your quest, so you can never go home. Don't worry. Follow this special cow with a half moon mark on its flank. Wherever the cow lays down, found a city, you'll do great." And so Cadmus goes to, Boeotia, central Greece, middle of nowhere. The sacred cow sits down, and he intends to sacrifice it to Athena. This does not go well because he sends a couple of his lads out to go find some water. His lads are all eaten by a water dragon. Something that is said to be similar to the Lernaean Hydra, but is not described as having multiple heads. So some kind of sneaky dragon thing. Anyway, it eats all of his guys. He kills the dragon. He takes its teeth. This is one of the famous anecdotes. He sows the dragon's teeth in the ground. He's instructed to do so by Athena. And from the teeth, the Spartoi spring. Spartoi meaning sown. There's a couple different variations of this, but no matter what happens, Cadmus throws a rock into the middle of the Spartoi, and they fight amongst themselves until only 5 are left.
I wonder if this is where Dragon Tooth Warrior comes from.
Yes, I believe this is where that does come from. Those, I think with Medea also, it's because in the Argonautica, Medea's dad does that also. Apparently in ancient Greece, this is just a thing you can do with dragon teeth. If you sow them into the ground, dudes spring up.
Rad.
I believe in the Argonaut legends, Medea tells Jason to do the same trick that Cadmus did. Just basically like throw a rock or something in amongst them and they will fight amongst themselves.
Okay.
But yeah, so he's left with only 5 dragon tooth warriors left. They become the 5 noble, the oldest noble families of the city of Thebes. The dragon was sacred to Ares, so Cadmus had to do a little bit of a penance. But it's okay. He was rewarded to this because according to the Thebans, he got to marry the goddess Harmonia, literally harmony, who is the usually thought of as the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. And then Cadmus has a pretty normal one as Cadmus. He, fights in some wars. He helps found a city. He got some stuff out there. His family members are a little unfortunate. There's a couple different tellings to this. Either it is thought of as basically continuing bad fortune because he killed the dragon sacred to Ares, which is what he thought. But also, some versions of the story have it that, listen, Hephaestus, okay? We love him to death. But he was a little petty about some stuff, okay? He had a chip on his shoulder about a few things.
Yeah, I mean, if your legal wife keeps boinking, the jog down the stairs, you're gonna be a little pissed about things.
Jaku's your brother, by the way. That's your brother. Ares is all in most tellings. Ares is also son of Zeus and Hera.
Listen, they're not above a little casual incest up in fucking on the Mount Olympus. I'm gonna be real front,
dude. So the Theban telling is that Hephaestus gave a necklace, a Pelopos, to Harmonia, which was cursed. The necklace of Harmonia is cursed. It brings misfortune to whoever owns it. So, Cadmus' city had trouble. His children had a lot of trouble. Several of them died early. And ultimately, Cadmus, the Dragon Slayer, kind of, goes the other way because he thinks that the ill fortune is because he killed a sacred dragon. So one day he does, that thing where he opens his mouth again. Cadmus, buddy, you gotta learn. But he decries to the heavens, if the gods love a serpent's life so much, I should want this for myself. Upon which he is immediately turned into a dragon.
They're worse fates.
Yes. Upon which his wife, the goddess Harmonia, throws herself on the mercy of the gods to also be transformed into a serpent. And so, basically to share her husband's fate. And so they grant it. She's turned into a serpent as well.
Rad.
And then they go chill somewhere. They go walk off into the sunset.
Retire dragon life. I'm for it. Let's go.
Yeah, they're either taken to the Elysian fields or just go into the Grecian wilderness. So, like I said, it's one of those things where Cadmus really should have learned to keep his mouth shut. But honestly, being turned into a dragon and your wife also choosing to be turned into a dragon and just retiring into the woods could be fucking worse.
Could be worse. Also, no, remember, Atalante and her husband, I use this in quotes, by the way, got turned into lions, were made to pull Kybel's chariot. So they did not get to retire. Yeah.
But this means Cadmus, like I said, I thought of this when they showed off the White Snake Little Dragon event. Cadmus has a great call as both a unique space of being both dragon and dragon slayer. And I think Lancer would be the best fit because while he's described as using a couple of different tools, most of the engravings of him actually slaying a dragon are using the spear. And he also did kind of do, according to some versions, the wandering adventurer thing. At some point, he abdicates his throne to his son or grandson and just, wanders around, the Peloponnese, the Grecian islands, doing some stuff before ultimately he just, like I said, gets tired of having bad luck and is like, damn. So, like I said, Lancer, alignment, neutral good, pretty normal stuff there. Stats, strength B, endurance B. He's supposed to be, pretty strong, a great monster slayer. Agility C+, magic power B. Luck E. He's a Lancer. This is also why I think he should be a Lancer. His luck is terrible. Man's literally cursed. NP A. Class skills, pretty normal stuff. Magic resistance A+. He himself has more limited divinity, but he became a dragon at some point and had a lot of other stuff going on. I think he should have a high magic resistance. Writing B. Personal skills, tacked up a couple. First of all, while this is in lore a personal skill, it is a passive skill in FGO. Did say divinity C+. He is, he is the grandson of Poseidon. Poseidon is his grampy. And in some tellings, he's said to have gone to the Elysian fields for heroes after death. So moderate divinity. Was not actually deified, but is, only a couple of generations removed. So one of these skills is you would say pretty normal. Dragonkind modification. Similar skill to what our boy Sigurd has. A specific form of self-modification granted by transforming into a dragon. Cadmus overcame a sacred dragon and gained the dragon factor because, he became a king. And then said, like I said, if the gods love the life of a serpent, I should wish that for myself. So he has a dragon-class mana reactor, which gives him, the ability to act independently as a servant. This is, again, the same kind of shit that servants like Artoria and Sigurd have. Even Siegfried has, a huge mana output. So very strong level there. Should give some buster up and damage cut. But the actual unique personal skills, what I think the big three would be: affections of the goddess, harmony. So several servants have the affection of the goddess or affection of the gods type skill. I think, for instance, Europa has affection of the chief god as one of her skills. But this is specifically, married to Harmonia, who goddess of peace and harmony, daughter of Aphrodite and Ares. So all of his parameters except magical power and luck are increased. But also, because she is the goddess of harmony, of working together, Harmonia is the Greek equivalent of the Roman Concordia. So he also just has an aura of calmness and orderliness at all times. So probably, like attack and defense up and then get some mental debuff resistance in there. Another fun one, though, what I called Baleful Signs B. So Cadmus is the founder of the city of Thebes. According to Grecian historians like Herodotus, they say that Cadmus, who came from Phoenicia, brought the Phoenician alphabet with him. They literally say, oh yeah, Cadmus, who founded Thebes, gave us the Phoenician alphabet, which become the Greek one. And ancient Thebes had a lot of tablets in Linear B, a language which was lost by the time of Homer, but was deciphered later. We can't understand Linear B now. It's Linear A, I think we can't fucking understand and probably never will. Rip. But this means that basically Cadmus is assigned the, mastery of all of the wisdom of the ancient Greeks as a result because he, was supposed to be the guy who gave them letters. So without him, they would not have this capacity. This also means he would have understanding of the divine words used by the magecraft of the gods. So not only does it make his natural magic resistance really high, but he can counteract and even reverse hostile magecraft used against him. So probably as an active skill, probably a battery because, of divine words. Maybe not like the full high-speed one because I don't know how high-speed his words were, but should be a charge. But should be like some form of debuff immunity stacks, like, 1 time 3 turns or 3 times 3 turns. But I also do like the idea of reversing of, like, if an enemy tries to stick a debuff on him and he uses a debuff immune stack, give them a debuff back, like, maybe a attack down or critical down or something. You probably could code it to literally mirror the debuff he blocked, but that would be very finicky. But, he's a Lancer who has pocket caster powers. And then lastly, Founder's Charisma A, because we love special charismas in FGO. The charisma of a king, but also an adventurer and a hero who is supposed to be one of the top monster slayers in his day, second only to Perseus in the time before Heracles, who would be born in Thebes later, by the way. All goes back to Herc. So, while said to be cursed, the House of Cadmus also produced lots of other strong heroes and divine spirits. So, a person who is an army led by this person would have their abilities increased not just against humans, but also monsters. So probably, team-wide attack up, team-wide damage up versus Demonic Beast. Pretty typical stuff there, but it fits in pretty well. And then, maybe a little out of place for a Lancer, but we got three Noble Phantasms. First, a very fun one. A minus rank barrier Noble Phantasm, Cadmea, the 7-gated wall. So remember I said Cadmus founded the city of Thebes? Mm-hmm. In the center of that ancient city, there was a citadel, as there were in a lot of ancient Greek cities, called the Cadmea. It was the citadel at the center of the city was named after him. So the Acropolis or citadel in the center of the city was named after him. He was the founder of the city. Later, Theban kings improved the city, including adding what was called a 7-gated wall. By the way, there are some myths that they raised the 7-gated wall through magic, like one night. They probably didn't do that in real life, but it's a cool story for a noble phantasm. The land the Cadmea was built on was once sacred to Ares, but then dedicated to Athena by Cadmus, so those are both war gods. So basically, Cadmus can summon the Cadmea to blanket his allies and protect his master's workshop. A barrier-type noble phantasm to summon a 7-layered protection. However, another fun fact. Would you like to know who breached the 7-gated wall and pierced the Cadmea in ancient times?
Let's hear it. I'm curious.
Alexander the Pretty Alright Guy. That's right. None other than Alexander the Great conquered Thebes and defeated the 7-gated wall and the ancient citadel of the Cadmea. I think he even had it destroyed and then it was rebuilt later. So, as a noble phantasm, superior military tactics and anti-army noble phantasms can overcome it, but because it was rebuilt later, Cadmus can summon it even if it's destroyed, so it is a repeatable noble phantasm you can do. Again, this could just be like a lore note or could actually be a skill to proc like team defenses and stuff. It's just one of those things that after reading that the it was named after him and also Alexander broke it, I'm just like, oh, that's a cute servant dialogue to have in there. I imagine that Iskander would be like, oh shit, it's Cadmus. Sorry about your wall, bro.
No, I think Iskander was like, you should have made a stronger wall! And laugh boisterously.
I'm going to go slightly out of alphabetical order because there's a big one that I got to do at the end that's kind of the big thing. But also, it would be remiss to not mention the Spartoi, the Dragon-Tooth Warriors, B+ anti-army. So after killing a water dragon at Thebes, Athena had Cadmus sow the dragon's teeth into the earth. They emerged as fierce warriors. The first Dragon-Tooth Warriors, the Spartoi, Cadmus was afraid for his life. He cast a stone among them until they fought until only 5 were left. And so, the actual, Dragon-Tooth Warriors we see in Fate normally are just familiars. They are constructs that are modeled off of that, and were supposed to be apparently pretty common because not only did Medea summon them, but with her vast powers of summoning familiars, Semiramis was also able to create her own variation of the Dragon Tooth Warriors. Actually, I believe according to like descriptions of Apocrypha, her flying type ones are she combined Dragon Tooth Warriors with wyverns.
Oh, okay.
So that's where her flying type ones come from. These are not that. These are the actual fully functional warriors. To summon them, Cadmus has to plant teeth in the ground and draw mana from the earth, so he has to do like a whole Noble Phantasm effect. But the result is that he can summon up to 5 actual low-rank heroic spirits. They can operate independently as sabers, archers, or assassins. These are both the classes of the actual Dragontooth Warriors in the game, but also fit the description of what his Spartoi should be armed with: swords, knives, or bows. And they possess their own small version of the Dragon Factor. He can only summon, so many at a time, and they are inherently weak to confusion or mental disruption attacks. But y'all know, Chad, I'm a sucker for servants that summon more servants. Probably would be like, if nothing else, would be some of his animations would be the actual Dragontooth Warriors jumping out and smacking some guys.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And also, like I said, that's just a fun time for servant utility. Oh, he can summon more guys who are, effectively E-rank heroic spirits. But the big one is, and forgive me, much like actual Fate, my using of non-English names for Noble Phantasms are wacky, but Natus mi Draco Neru, I will type that for the patrons in chat, but if the gods so love a serpent, I should wish that for myself, a EX rank anti-fortress Noble Phantasm, because usually turning into a dragon is pretty extraneous. So this is, as I said, the reason why I think I like Cadmus so much is, especially in a Fate context, he's a dragon slayer who becomes a dragon. We only have one other guy who does that so far, and that's Sigurd. But even then, Sigurd has also some other funny things going on. But Cadmus is sent, brother of Europa, sent by their father to find her after she was abducted by Zeus. Knowing that he would never return home, they, guided him to where he would found the city of Thebes. He killed the sacred dragon, offered its teeth to the gods. As penance, he had to serve Ares for 8 years. But, his wife was also cursed, so he has to go through all that before. He was, instantly transformed into a dragon and then taken by Zeus to the Elysian Fields. So basically, if he wants to, Cadmus can invoke this name, and he can activate his dragon core. He creates a spear of twinned water breath, because dragons in Fate have different breath. It's supposed to be a water dragon, so water breath. And it's twinned, because wife. The effect is doubled because of the bond with his divine wife, who shares his fate. She is actually a divine spirit, so you should not be able to summon her normally. But, her powers can be felt through his cool double attack.
I think there could be a case made that, I've been thinking about this, and, I would definitely like to see this maybe as a double summon with Caduce and his wife, because as the legends go, she followed him.
Yeah, a chain summon could also be cool.
She followed him, so if he was to be summoned, it's reasonable that she would probably summon. Probably not in, her full divine stuff, but kind of do, a reverse Orion. Maybe she's just, a cute dragon that just hangs out around his neck or something.
I mean, it's that, or they're literally the ancient Greek Viomen Odio.
I was thinking about that, and I didn't want to, step on those toes. Yeah. And Harmony becomes, a cute dragon. And I'm like,
probably
that's perfect.
Be more normal than Odio.
Definitely.
And to be fair, she is the goddess of, peace and, harmony, as in, literally, in Greek, the way you're supposed to read Harmonia is, the act of coming together. So she would probably not be a very combative servant, but I do agree that I kind of like the idea of her hanging around. But the ultimate result of this, summon spear is, because he's got the blessings of both Ares and Athena, he creates a ultra high pressure water cutter, which can pierce even the defenses of the Age of Gods, scattering foes like droplets of water. Very strong against monsters and demons, limited power against gods. But, we love a good ultra pressure water cutter, and just the idea of him, calling this out and just, twin serpent, twin breaths of water forming like a drill or a Caduceus type effect, piercing enemies, be pretty cool. And, could probably AoE. I feel like with the Dragonkind modification and stuff, I'm thinking, in FGO terms, probably Buster, but it's water, so it could be arts.
We could probably go, honest,
because a lot of other, dragon type servants are Buster Up. I think the Dragonkind passive that units like Ibuki have is just damage cut, Buster Up, and Sigurd's mana dragon modification is basically his mana burst and his guts, I think. So it could be either or, but like I said, we don't mind coming up with unique things. That's assuming he even has the Dragon Kind modification as one of his active skills, because like I said, I gave this guy 3 fucking NPs and like 4 personal skills, so there's plenty of room to just put whatever you want in there and keep the big arch sweep. Probably auto pierce invul, I think makes the most sense. At the very least, automatic sure hit, but a piercing NP, which is probably AoE, that just blasts forth. Also very funny. I will relate to the people at home. Lucky has just said that his headset died. He forgot to charge. So I will wrap up Cadmus real quick, and then probably we'll take a pause while he probably tries to plug it in and some stuff. But I'm going to wrap it up by saying Cadmus's normal equipment should be spear and sling. He is also associated, in addition to lancing, with sling stones, so that could be a cute animation. And as for looks, there's a couple different depictions of him. There are some famous like potteries of him, of just being like a guy in a hat and a cloak and no pants. It's okay. We'd have to include the pants. Patrons, you get to see the no pants because it's art, but I don't think I can get away with that shit on YouTube. There's another famous like Renaissance painting of him just like wrapped up in like a bear or a lion skin. The painter did tie the like skin so that it covers his junk. So I'm not entirely sure why the legends and the art depictions always seem to show him not wearing pants. But we could fix that. We can fix that, Chad. He can wear pants. But yes, we're going to take a short intermission now for Lucky to juice his headset back up. Yeah. All right. Well, let me turn the recording back on. It's about 10 minutes later, Chad. But Lucky's back. I wrapped up most of my discussion points on Cadmus, but I discussed a little about the people with ascensions and noted that in a lot of classical art, Cadmus seems anti-pants. We have to fix that. But that means we got about 9 minutes before we're going to find out if it's Tiamat tonight.
Yeah. Oh, do not think I was doing nothing. While we're doing this, I did schedule the poll, so Lucky will not forget.
Nice.
I do not know when exactly this will be posted, but the poll is scheduled to go live at noon tomorrow my time, which will be 3 p.m. Omega's time. It'll fire when it fires.
Oh. It'll probably be after this episode goes live, but not confirmed.
But by the time, if you're listening to this, on the day of release, the poll is probably out.
For sure,
or will be
at this point. We're almost 2:20 into the raw, so we're at like, after editing, this is probably still like 1 hour 45, 2 hours ish right now.
Yeah,
and we've just wrapped Fan Serving Friday, so there's still the What's Up Zone.
The What's Up Zone.
Which I have a handful of things to mention in there. Some of which we've mentioned off and on in other stuff, because we do stream a couple times a week, but haven't had a chance to fill in on everything. And there's also some new info. I think most of the stuff that was in like the live letter of the producer and the trailer for Final Fantasy XIV 7.2 update we did talk about. But there has been some new stuff from the updated preview site and prelim changelog.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still very cool.
Actually, Meg, have you got to look at the preliminary patch notes?
Yeah, I skimmed them earlier. Talked about it, so looks pretty good. We got sizable. I got a handful of new quests.
No, it's gonna be it's the usual thing. The new main scenario quest, the a couple of extra quests, like we're getting the corn serving quest. Very excited about that.
Yeah,
we're starting off with our second round of normal raids.
Yep,
that's gonna be fun as well. They look like some very nice designs, and I'm really excited to see that the fucking Mad Bomber is just a heel on camera, and he is actually a sweet boy who loves cats. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, the trailer has kind of suggested we're going that direction, and that would be great if he's just like great. He's a big heel for kayfabe, but behind the scenes he's normal. Let's see, there's some fun new furnishings. One that was very funny for us was they announced that they are adjusting rewards for Dawn Trail maps in general, and also specifically for Cenote Jaja Garal. Which I know Starlight posted a screen cap of that earlier, wondering if perhaps we would not get corduroy felt like 3 times in a row. Because that did happen to us.
Listen, if we get corduroy felt on the 5th one, there's something wrong there.
Well, and after getting like it twice more. So, they're doing their usual, adding new housing and stuff. And I'm kind of curious because they're talking about that, like, these are just the prelims. So I'm wondering if they'll maybe go into detail when it actually hits. They're adding some new prizes for MGP, so I'll have to see what those are. And they're doing a lot of little, like, they put this in MISC, but they're doing a lot of little, like, like quality of life and like graphical switch ups.
Oh,
For instance, the challenge log is adding an extra space just for field ops.
Yep, gotta move Eureka over there.
Yep, gonna put Eureka in that slot, and presumably that's where the new occult triangle stuff will go as well. They've added duty support, obviously, for the new dungeon, which is going to be the Underkeep, but also added to Sunken Temple of Karn. They also they didn't say any field mechanics would be different, but they did say that all 3 of the bosses would have adjusted mechanics in Karn. So I am kind of curious how that'll play out, especially because, gotta be real, the actual bosses in Karn are pretty normal. Because that's the you've got the Terror Demon who gives you like the Doom, you got to stand on the lit up platform and summon some ads. There's the Golem who you got to break his soul stone and then you beat his ass. And then there's the statue guy who is mostly just annoying. He summons like ads and weird AoEs and stuff.
Well, they gotta be adjusted because, like I said, we're gonna be going with like NPCs, and NPCs have to know which parts to properly attack, or if they get doomed to know, to properly run. So they might be doing some things to adjust that. Like, when we were playing the other day and we ran the dungeon that has a House of Archer in the bounds, like I didn't think about that, but yeah, no shit, they actually had to redo his mechanics. Because you probably couldn't rely on APCs to, like, run into the things and jump around platforms all over the place. That'd probably been really fucking hard to code. It'd probably a lot easier just to make it a full-on arena.
Yeah, pathing is always an issue.
Yeah,
so very, very easier to simplify. So, yeah, probably also in that case, that probably means that, like, the pathing is probably what they would fix about some of that stuff. Hey, maybe it'll just be a Doom you can Asuna now, or a heal check. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we'll see, I'm sure, because it'll come. Somebody will get it on roulette. They're doing also some stuff with roulette. Speaking of that, they've adjusted some stuff. So first of all, they're renaming the sectors of Chloe's book.
Yep.
So first of all, they're going to add Juno and Underkeep to it. Specific objectives. They're going to say they're going to change with the prizes. So they're saying they're being adjusted. So I'm interested to see, because I think I've gotten everything under like bronze that I wanted ever. But they're going to like revamp some of the names. So it's going to be like, instead of saying leveling dungeons 81 through 89, it'll be like leveling dungeons will either be 81 through 89 or 91 through 99. Changing the names of duty roulettes. High level dungeons 50-60 will say 50 and 60. 73-80 will say 70 and 80, etc. But they're also changing how high level duties to be displayed. Instead of and this is for Chloe as well. Instead of displaying when you've got the level cap with at least one, you have to complete the main scenario quest of the latest expansion. Which means you will no longer get stuck with Chloe book for shit you literally can't play. So good grab.
Yeah, that's a good one. Finally.
Yeah.
I think you were talking about that at some point, how you're getting like Shadowbringers and Endwalker trials in your book, and you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I think at some point I hit the cap before I was done with Endwalker, and it was like, oh, I can't do some of these trials yet, because they assigned me some of the I hit level 90, but that means they started assigning me like Endwalker patch trials, like some of the fiends you can do, and it's like, interesting, can't unlock that one. Literally can't do that one yet. So yeah, makes sense that they changed that up. That's good. They're adding some new emotes, one of which is going to be chocobos around your head. That's probably a good one. And also, I know you screen capped this. I think you did. They're adding looping versions of the Tombstone and Read emote.
Yes, this is very important to me. So now I can just play on my tombstone while people are talking.
Yeah,
it's great.
Tome Scroll and Study are now the looping versions of that. We're adding a new dungeon, obviously. They're changing the item sync for some other dungeons. We're adding a new trial as well, which will have a extreme and stuff and so forth.
I think the extreme mount for the new trial is probably my favorite so far. Who doesn't like giant swords?
Yeah, you've got like a giant sword or spear on your back, or lance. Let's see, adding some new stuff, adding new cruiserweight tier, and showing off those bosses. We're gonna have the new limit lock for all of them, and you're gonna have a new eye level requirement. To complete your maximum level, you got to go to 740. But I do like the sound of the new equipment you can unlock. It's the Babyface Champions set. Eye level 760. Oh, we got a notification.
It's 9 o'clock. Let's check, everybody.
Ozymandias is my notification. Well, let's open FGO and refresh anyway to get my login bonus.
Thanks, FGO.
Ooh, that's a rough one. Someone in chat saying they know somebody who was spoiled on Hades via Chloe book. Yeah, no. I don't know why it took them a while to get here, but yeah, our Discord's saying nothing. So let's see. It's the 22nd. Wow, that means I really don't know when they're going to do that. Is it going to be like literally the 31st? Oh well, I've logged in and gotten some Leafs and my weekly summon ticket. It was day 7. But yeah, like I said, I like that they're calling it the babyface gear. That's cute. Let's see. An interesting one. First of all, they're removing all the weekly limits on Juno First Walk.
Yep. Because
that's not going to be, the highest level eye level, so fine. One that's interesting, like I said, is they're increasing the bonus EXP for Alliance raids on Roulette.
For in dungeon and out of dungeon. I mean, for in duty and out of duty.
Yes. Upon specifically defeating bosses in the Endwalker raids give more XP to be in line with the other Alliance raids, and also the actual Roulette will give you more, which is cool. Not super needed, I think, but just interesting to keep everybody up on the leveling speed. We're gonna get new tomestones, mathematics. Your aesthetics are gonna be scrunched into heliometry, but no more weekly cap on heliometry. One thing that I think is very interesting is it seems like they're splitting up the duty roulettes a little.
Really?
Yeah, so they're adding a category which says duty roulette level cap dungeons. And it says duty roulette becomes level cap after you complete the required duties, and that says Alexandria, Tender Valley, and Strayborough Deadwalk, so the original 3 level 100 dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're modifying duty roulette expert to just be Uyueta Field Station and Underkeep. And they are increasing the eye level a little bit. So they're splitting, it seems like they're splitting level cap dungeons for the dungeons for the end of X-Pack, when you hit level cap, and then the patch content, which technically should require slightly higher eye level. So I get, rather than how would I say, box you out of the roulette because they're going to add, harder duties, which will require higher eye level. They're just splitting them up, and they will have separate bonuses.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how they pay out.
Yeah, so they're moving them out, but they're specifically calling it the level cap one. And the new level cap one will give you 15 mathematics, 100 heliometry.
Okay.
So just another way to get them. Let's see, and they are most of these they're just switching out the way the tomestones work. Aesthetics is becoming heliometry, heliometry is becoming mathematics. Revamped for PvP as well. Just scrolling, same for marks. All the usual stuff they do when they add new tomestones. Yeah, like I said, they say following adjustments have been made to Sunken Temple of Karn, and they say Territar, Temple Guardian, and Adjudicator have all been adjusted. The PvP series is going to end. Luckily, I have already locked in my 25. Thank God.
I have not. I need to get on that.
Well, we don't got to worry about Tiamat, so maybe we can wrap up here and get a little bit of 14 time in before it gets too late. But the new Series 8, does show a cool spider robot mount.
Let's go, Spider Mount.
So that'll be fun.
That will be fun.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Sorry, I was just scrolling through. They've got specifically some modifications for Frontline. So they're bringing back Borderland Ruins Secure, which was an area they had previously. It's kind of a little more, I want to say like King of the Hilly, it looks like.
Well, yeah, you have to actually control points and stay on them.
Yeah. But also in that tab for Frontline, they're adjusting a little bit of Battle High stuff. So the amount of Battle High you get from killing enemies is reduced. You get 8 points instead of 10. But for an assist, they're increasing it from 2 to 4.
Oh, okay.
So maybe spreading around Battle High a little. That could be interesting. Battle High, we have discussed at length. God knows if you've ever watched us play PvP on stream. You've seen Battle High in Frontlines is I want to feel like a contentious mechanic because obviously I get that they want some kind of snowball effect so that games end faster and don't stalemate, because that can already happen if you get too back and forthy. Logistically with 3 teams, if 2 teams are just bouncing off each other, eventually the third team should do something. Either they should box out one of the other 2 teams that are fighting, or they should take objectives and get points, but it can get a little deadlocky. So the Battle High, I think, is supposed to be their way of improving it. The main thing is that, let me actually double check. Nope, not Blattle High. Let's see. Battle High is a status that increases damage dealt and HP restored. So, yeah. Those are both really annoying. They're really annoying. They're really annoying because that means that guys who have shitloads of Battle High, which you don't get Battle High by doing objectives, you do it by killing enemies, are much faster at killing you, and also have the ability to shed damage much easier. which is already frustrating because depending on like server lag, individual enemies, even if they don't have battle high, can already feel invincible. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I've like 1v1'd a guy in front lines, like in PvP, as just like a dragoon, you know, and I don't win those, which is a little crazy to me. Like, fighting enemies who are like healers or tanks. Maybe not tanks because they do actually still have higher HP pools, but still, it's like one of those things of like, I feel like I should be able to eventually win a one-on-one, especially if enemies are trying to run away. But if we're gonna spread out the battle high by like, making it so that you get less points for killing, but assists get more, that may mean that like teams in general get higher battle high levels overall. That might even out a little.
That might help.
We'll see. It still feels like there's some. I've had some in crunching this PvP season. I've had some gnarly run-ins where like you run into the other team all of a sudden while you've been like minding your own business, playing the objectives, and you're like, holy shit! Why do these like 10 guys in the front of the enemy team all have red or gold battle high? What the fuck is happening here? Well, they've probably been off farming the other team, and it's like that's I don't know. It may just be my specific desire for like how PvP should be, but that's annoying to me. Like I personally, my ideal state of PvP that is objective-based, that is not just team deathmatch, is that playing objectives should win you the game. Like, otherwise, why is there any point to playing objectives? And, like, usually in front lines, you can't get away with just trying to bully the other teams, but sometimes you can. And so I don't know. Like I said, we'll see if the assist evens it out. But it's a frustrating system. Another system that is like just frustrating about frontlines, and I don't know how they would change it, but I wish they would. Is like there's no safe ground in frontlines. If the enemy team bullies you back to your spawn point, the only thing you can do is like respawn and hide up there. Like there's no incentive that stops them from just sitting outside your doorstep and killing you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, again, been in some frontlines matches that got a little lopsided where the other two enemy teams are fucking pinching us at our front door. And it's like, man, sure would be cool if there were like, I don't know, turrets or one of their famous instant death fields where like guys had to back off the spawn point a little, give us a little room to breathe. It doesn't last long, of course, because eventually the other two teams naturally turn on themselves. Or, because a big node spawns at the other end of the map. But like I said, I've seen it. I've been bullied. They're adding some new looks, though. We got some new items, some new gear. Looking pretty cool, pretty classic. Looking armors. And some craftable gears. They've got a huge list of items they're adding 2-channel dies to.
They're working on that backlog.
Yeah. They also have a filter for outfit glamours, for converting them to outfit glamours, so you can filter by only outfit glamours, not eligible for outfits, etc.
Just little quality of life stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. New Kingdom gear is going to be available for sacks of nuts.
Nuts and stuff.
Let's see. Adding new gathering points, adding items to gathering points. Certain locations are added. Interesting. New fishing holes. They're adjusting some items. Ooh, this is cute. Feature to batch select materials by quality for crafting log. So no longer do you need to manually scroll up. Ooh. Sorry, there's no details on this one, but that's another interesting one. They're saying level requirements for master crafting recipes have been removed.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I love how it's just a minor note, but it's one of the big ones. It's between new mounts been added, new choke bombarding added. Mounts can be summoned while moving. Just fuck it. You can do that now. That's great. That's good for both PvP and just general field utility.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing the details for what they talked about. Let's see. This is a system for graphical updates. Got a shitload of new textures for gear and improving vegetation in areas of 3 to 6x. Interesting. Let me see. There we go. There is the system. Sprint now grants the jog status once the effect expires. Jog has a more modest speed increase, but has an unlimited duration. Effect can be manually deactivated and expires when entity is generated. So I know people were wondering if we could only jog in sanctuaries, but it sounds like you can just jog wherever.
As long as you're not in combat.
Yeah. The moment you start getting in combat, you'll stop jogging, but that's great. So you can't stay sprinting all the time, which is probably pretty good because we've joked and not joked about sprint as damage mitigation. It truly is mitigation sometimes. But definitely that is a thing that is like sometimes frustrating, especially about big city zones, right?
Oh, yeah.
is because you can't mount, you can't increase your speed. So once you're, 20 seconds a sprinter up, you're just back to normal speed. Well, now you can jog.
Maybe I can finally put my special boots away.
Yeah.
And Eureka, there's a drop you can get that increases your sprint time in cities. Only in cities. It's very weird, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Was it the Strider boots? I think it was.
So I'm seeing, in order to prevent server congestion, we'll be implementing multiple field instances in Solution 9, Heritage Found, and the new areas of 7.2. So I think we slowly racked down all the split instances, but we're adding some back for Solution 9, Heritage Found, and the new areas. Okay.
Well, that means, the fucking hunt trains are going to be eating good.
At least for Heritage Found.
Yeah.
Let's see. They're also improving. Basically, they're remapping or updating the achievement list so that all the new shit will count if you're doing the tanking achievements.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cruiserweight tier and its Savage, Hell's Kier Unreal, and Recollection Extreme, which Recollection is the new trial. The extreme version of that will count for, the tankless job ones. And also, in general, count for the tank you paladin or warrior, etc. Ooh,
what's up?
Sorry, just scrolling the system. They're adding some new portrait stuff.
Yes,
some new accents. I'll post them in Crow for the people who are playing. Looking good, cool stuff. They're also adding some new poses, and I do like that they're adding rather than a filter for PvP stuff. They have you can see now your PvP series and PvP seasons portraits.
Okay.
Just stuff like deck field.
Should probably be working on my portraits a little bit.
Let's see. Okay, so the text commands we can now see because they're for the new emotes. You've got scroll, you've got study, and dazed, which is the seeing stars one.
Yep.
A bunch of new stuff. New trophies for PS5. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, because I'm the only one in our major group who plays on PlayStation, but every at least since Endwalker, and I have to double check if it's also was for like Shadowbringers, but every numbered patch they add more trophies.
There's gonna be a lot of trophies on the PS.
There are a lot of trophies. I have a decent spread of them, but there's a lot of them. And apparently these are all mirrored because they're also saying for 7X new achievements added for Xbox Series X and S, so that must all be locked in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the prelim one. Most of the stuff I didn't already see. So yeah, looking good. It's gonna be a great time.
Excited. Definitely gonna be in that next week.
Yep. And like I said, we've been trying to make sure we're caught up on all our stuff. Some of us have done the Ultimog challenge, and we'll slot in. Maybe that'll be tomorrow because you still need to do it. And I think did Loth do it? No, he wasn't with us.
I don't know.
He was.
No, I don't
asleep
think Loth
that day,
did.
So
yeah, I was gonna grab Loth and do it the other day, but
he
life happened.
overslept. Shame him. He's not here right now, but nonetheless. But yeah, so looking good. Let's see. Another couple of just video game stuff is we haven't talked about it on the podcast yet, but there was a 10-minute Hideo Kojima edited Death Stranding 2 trailer.
It was very good. Actually, pre-orders should be open now, shouldn't they?
I believe so. I think it opened a day or two after the trailer came out.
No, it was like a week.
Was it a week? It's been long enough now.
Death Stranding 2 pre-order.
But that's going to come out June 24th.
Yeah, they started the March 17th.
Okay. So it has been a few days, but yeah, it's a great trailer showing off a lot of new stuff.
I'm so excited.
Oh, and actually, I think you get the 2 days if you do the pre-order. It's the formal release date is the 26th, but late June.
Yeah, but no, watching the trailer, I am super excited. I don't think we're necessarily going to have as much emphasis on building structures this time, as I seem that is already established. But I think we might be trading off in some other things, because boy howdy, there looks like there's a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a density of stuff. They are still like showing structures, but it does kind of seem like the idea is that there are more of them pre-established. There's like trains, there are still zip lines, but it looks like there's like vehicle combat stuff.
Yeah.
Like many new systems, many old systems. Looking to be super fun. And like I said, there's just... It's crazy how much stuff they show you in the... Or I should even say Kojima, because he was the lead editor on it, like showed you in the trailers and then still has some zingers for more. Like, I've talked about it before, but it's my profile picture on Discord for a reason. Like, just the moment where the character Neil is just like, he's looking at his watch, he's tapping his watch and he's like, all right, it's go time. And he lifts up the bandana and puts on his head and there's those firework flashes in the skull and it's like, damn, like, it's real good. And I think thematically the game's going to be interesting because Kojima's talked about it a little bit, and like his question of like, should we have connected? We should not have connected and stuff, like the trailer messages he's talked about has to do a lot with like basically the like COVID and post-COVID experiences he's had.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think that like some of the like the vibes that are maybe a little more Metal Gear-y are because of his own kind of like coming to terms, I think, stuff he's done, because he talked about when he announced Fizzint that, like, he said, I thought I was done with stealth games, basically. Like, I was gonna call it a day at Metal Gear Solid 5 and just never come back, but, he talked about how, like, he's getting older. I think there were a couple of people that he, like, knew in the industry who died relatively young. Like, they're around the same age as him, and so he was like, no, you know what? I got one more in me. I want to make one more perfect stealth action game before I die, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, like, because in the like Death Stranding director's cut trailer, there's that moment where like there's the cardboard box, and then I think Sam just looks at it and is like, no, it's no more of that. This kind of feels like Kojima going like, no, you know what? No, I do still like Solid Snake, guys. I spent a lot of years working on that guy, I can't quite quit it. Snake Plissken, it's true. And it's one of those things that's like, I don't know, like we've talked about this before. It is absolutely pie in the sky. I do not think it will happen, but I am always hopeful that, like, Konami is doing their own big, like, basically come to Jesus about Metal Gear, this year as well. Metal Gear Delta. Firmly several months away from Death Stranding 2. Like, nobody tried to do anything weird and, like, put those head to head. Honestly, I've seen several people in the like the media industry who were surprised about June. They were like, "Wow, that feels soon."
That is soon. It's months, mere months.
Yeah, I know, but like overall, they're like, "Wow, we release date in June." Like there was like one big like teaser trailer, and then a couple of nods, and then he was like, "Fuck it, I'm invited to South by Southwest. Here's the game. Here's the date. Here's the trailer. I'm out. Music by Woodkid. Kojima Smoke Bomb."
Honestly, I think people are just being like I think just as an industry standard, everyone's like afraid of the fucking elephant in the room that is GTA 6. I think people are just now at this point starting to say, fuck it.
Yeah, I think in general, we're just seeing a lot of release dates in the middle or back half of the year, which are just, as I phrased it, I think with like Metal Gear Delta and stuff, a lot of companies are just going, okay, bet you won't release GTA this year. Fuck you. If we die kind of stuff. And again, not that I think that like Metal Gear Delta and Death Stranding 2 and God knows when Ghosts of Yotei is going to hit. I don't think those got the same vibes. Yotei's supposed to be this year, right?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember. I thought it was this year, but I might be wrong. Could be 26.
I'm pretty sure it's on schedule for 26.
No, it says coming to PS5 2025.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, that I don't know. We've only seen the one trailer from them, so I could see a push.
Like, unless we're gonna get into the habit of fucking announcing showing like one trailer and then a second trailer with the release date like a few months later, ain't no way.
Yeah, no. So I guess we'll see where they're going. But yeah, Death Stranding 2 is gonna be great.
No, I'm
Looks
gonna
beautiful.
Get it.
Like they're
definitely.
Decima is a really robust engine, and I think they already had a lot of like cool photo scan stuff they could do both with actors and with environments. And both the Horizon games are also super pretty, but I feel like Kojima also really getting to flex his like cinematography muscles.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, I'm hoping the pie in the sky is that Kojima kind of like his relationship with Metal Gear is that like not that like Konami like takes him back. He seems perfectly functional as an independent studio on his own now for realsies. But like offers an arm to extend and to make a real director's cut of like Metal Gear Solid 5 that probably like covers the Act 3 shit that was all cut, which is like in the like the pre-order, special edition of that game, you can get access to the cutscenes of what was originally planned to be DLC, but obviously was canceled, where they're like the cutscenes are like 60 to 90% done, for like how the plot is supposed to wrap up for the final bits of that game, and maybe streamline some other shit. This is something I've seen with some other like LPs and stuff of it. Again, not that they need me to shill, but Chip Cheesem LP has a great Metal Gear Solid 5 LP, which I've talked about before, is so in depth that he cuts multiple POVs of missions to show you up to 3 different ways to do those missions. But he talks about this with his co-host a lot about how there are some tapes in like the back half of Metal Gear Solid 5 that are clearly cutscene audio without the cutscenes. Like they have like Foley and like ambient sound in the cassette tape, which the cassette tapes normally don't do. So like maybe get some of that stuff finished up. But obviously I don't know if that will ever happen. I know that interesting enough, Kojima has gotten a little more free about talking about Metal Gear in the past couple of years. He actually had a tweet recently to talk about the anniversary of Ground Zeroes.
Yeah.
Where he mentioned, that it is the lowest rated Metal Gear game.
Well, it was just I don't want to say glorified, but it was just a big ass prequel. Prologue, excuse me.
It feels like a glorified tech demo. Like it is more than just a demo, because like it is bigger than that. It's repeatable, but even he says that is kind of what it was. Like they were Konami, I should say, was new to the PS4, right? And he also was like, talking about how like they wanted to make something accessible for mobile players because this was supposed to be a direct sequel to Peace Walker, right?
Right.
So they wanted something smaller, more digestible to try and like bring them in, right? The PS4 was released, so they were they only had a few titles out, so Konami wanted to release, Ground Zeroes to get out ahead. And they introduced it as a prologue to talk about basically the new gameplay they were developing. And he talked about how, like at the time there was a lot of negativity because it did feel like they were releasing a demo, because that was kind of what it was. Like I said, they wanted something that was meant to show off what they could be doing, what they were actively working on, even though the mechanics are not exactly 1-to-1. But they were charging like, oh god, what was the price of Ground Zeroes?
I don't remember.
Google that too. Let's see. Well, on Steam right now it's $20, so that was probably at least the starting. Nope. PS3 version you could get, which I assume was the PS4 as well. It says I've got an old Reddit post from our Metal Gear Solid, $40. So
yeah, no, that's a little steep, my dude.
That's asking so much, and that's something that Kojima didn't comment about, but that I've heard rumors about, and I think is the reason why Konami wanted to put it out. Metal Gear Solid 5 was probably a really expensive game. It has a lot of cutscenes, has a lot of mocap. There's a lot of open world terrain shit that they did. Not to mention that I'm not sure exactly how they originally planned it, but I assume that at some point Ground Zeroes was supposed to be just part of Phantom Pain, right?
It was probably supposed to be your intro mission, and then you go straight into Phantom Pain.
Yeah, like I could imagine a version of like the Tanker chapter jump, or like the Virtuous mission to Operation Snake Eater. You do the first thing, introduce all the gameplay elements, and then at the end of it, when you do the mission properly, you get blown the fuck up, and then the doctor is like, "It has been 9 years."
This happens a lot now that I realize. Act 1, everything's going normal. Oh no, everything's fucked up. Get horribly injured. Act 2.
Yeah, Kojima did like that twist. He doesn't use it all the time. Metal Gear Solid 1 is just like straight through, as are the original Metal Gear games, non-solid. And MGS 4 is like a 5-act structure. So that's just like you just jump in.
Let's see. Act 1 was the Middle East, and you did get the twist of having Ocelot show up, but I don't think Snake necessarily gets fucked up.
I mean, he gets fucked up, but a lot of people get fucked up when they use, because Ocelot uses the guns of the Patriots for the first time at the end. I think the closest is like there's kind of like a softball prologue when you're in the truck, right? And Snake gives his whole war has changed speech, and then you're fighting with those guys for like 5 seconds, and then the geckos show up and ruin everybody's day.
Yeah,
but that's way shorter than like a Tanker chapter or a Virtuous mission, right?
Hey, but by the way, I know it wasn't directly Kojima, but Metal Gear Revengeance like that. You kick ass, and then right at the end, you get your ass absolutely handed to you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Kojima didn't work on that one directly, but I know that he was working on the first version of Revengeance, and they passed it off to Platinum because they couldn't figure out how to make it work with like their own engine and sensibilities, right?
Yeah.
So honestly, he may have prototyped that in the plot. Like that may have been his idea to like start you off simple and then have you kind of get torn up as Raiden and have to like revamp your cyborg stuff. But yeah, no, like that would make a lot more sense. So like that means that the whole experience is like back in the day was like $100 because it'd be $40 for Ground Zeroes and then $60 for the original 5. Which honestly is why I've never played Ground Zeroes, actually, because I was like, I don't want to pay $40 for like a sneak preview version. I want to get the full title. Nowadays you can get like a definitive edition add-on and some stuff, and like I said, I think on Steam right now it's $20. So like it's easier to get into that, but there was definitely like a weird pricing there. But I do think he's right that like a lot of people have had time to grow on it. That like no, Ground Zeroes is actually pretty mechanically dense. There's a lot of funny side missions and like interesting stuff to do. Honestly, I think from having seen the gameplay of it, there's a lot more like weird Metal Gear stuff in Ground Zeroes than ended up in the actual 5. 5 has a couple of weird things, but it's mostly like gear.
Yeah.
Like if you max out Venom Snake's lightning arm, you can fucking summon lightning bolts, his stun arm. You can also get the Hand of Jehuti, which is very funny.
Yeah, there are a bunch of funny things you can do in Metal Gear 5, but it requires you to, think outside the fucking box, or just be honest. Like, there is a mission that you can do where you have to go destroy a communication tower. You can destroy this communication tower before this mission, and if you do so, I'm pretty sure it's Miller. You'd be like, you start the mission, and then someone just says, "Hey, the communication tower is destroyed," and Miller's just like, "What?
Yeah,
really?"
Because I've both done this and seen the cutscene. Yeah, Miller's giving you your normal mission brief, and then Ocelot gets on the radio and is like, "No, don't worry about that, Miller. The communications tower has already been destroyed." And Miller's like, "What? Huh? Boss, you're amazing. How did you know?" Yeah. So there's like, you're right. There's a lot of weird stuff you can do. The fact that you can fucking throw guys in jeeps and then Fulton jeeps full of guys, inherently hilarious.
There are missions that where you have to take out fucking like maybe like a tank convoy, but if you just pre-plan it to like set up like a roadblock with like a fucking cardboard box, you can just sneak up on the convoy, Fulton everything there, and call the mission done.
Yeah.
Like, there are several ways in the game that you can do weird stuff. It's like
if you build the blueprint for the water gun, you can defeat the man on fire that way.
Yeah.
Or
you can capture
defeat the man on fire.
For the old Mother Base soldier, if you have love deterrents playing, they'll just, salute and, let you just, take them away.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 or 4 ways to get those guys. One of them is just CQC them, because then they're like, "It's you, boss." You can play love deterrents on your speakers, which is also great. The third way that I remember off the top of my head is if you approach them in a cardboard box, they're just like, "The boss. There's no other man who would use a cardboard box. It's you, boss."
So no, it's like, but I think the problem with Metal Gear Solid 5, I say this is a problem, is not really, it's a problem, is that for all intents and purposes, it's an open world game, and so you're never really in a position to, I don't want to say like experiment and find these things out, but it's a lot harder for you to figure them out without like either running a guide or accidentally running into them.
Yeah,
like
it's one of those things where like you're supposed to try out stuff on your own, but because the game does have a fairly robust like back end of like R&D and personnel management, and you have to manage your GMP. You can't just like give yourself all the best guns willy-nilly. You're gonna run out of fucking money.
Yeah.
So, like, it doesn't necessarily encourage you to, like, try every little thing. But if you did try some stuff, you can see some funny stuff.
No, like, I can't remember any off the top of my head because it's been a fucking while since I've played, but
9 years.
But, like, the game usually will, like, not always, but if you, like, solve something in a weird or silly way, the game will, like, acknowledge you like did that, which means they had the foresight to be like, hey, if they can do this, shout them out.
Yeah, I remember there's a great way you can when you got to rescue those kids, they're too fragile for Fultoning.
Yep.
First of all, if you try to Fulton them like 3 times anyway, Miller says, "All right, we'll develop child-safe Fulton technology, boss." But also, if you knock them out, you can throw them in a Jeep and you can Fulton that.
Yep.
So long as you paid for the upgrade to Fulton vehicles, which of course I fucking did. Are you crazy? Always buy Fulton upgrades. When you can get the fucking rocket launcher that fires Fultons at people, it's great.
The game was so weird.
Oh, it was. Did you know that there's like special dialogue for sentries if they think they see the box moving? They will like call into base and be like, CP, this is, Sentry 1. I just saw a box moving, and they're just like, get back to work. And like, if you keep tormenting them. They'll keep calling in, and they will eventually fire a couple shots at your box. But if your cardboard box is upgraded enough to survive, they just give up. They just call into base. There's nothing inside the box. You know, like,
No,
there's
I
lots
think that
of little weird shit like that.
No, I think that's actually part of the revenge system, actually. For those of you who don't know, Metal Gear Solid 5 had actually something that was pretty fucking interesting called the revenge system, in which enemies would adapt based on your playstyle. If you like going for headshots, they would start wearing helmets. If you attacked at night, they would start using more spotlights and NVGs. If you did a lot of CQC, you know, they would start wearing, like, more guys with shotguns would be coming out. If you did holdups a lot, they would, like, start, you know, trying to break free of holdouts, all that stuff. And they had, like, dialogue and radio dialogue for, like, all this stuff. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5 is a big, I want to say this, I know this is a buzzword, but it really does feel immersive game.
Well,
like, you can spend...
You know, that's what I think Kojima was aiming for. He changed the subtitle to Tactical Espionage Operations. He was like, I'm making an open world stealth game, and did it. The problem is that, like, he's doing that thing where he needs to wrap so unfortunately Metal Gear Solid 5 is the point where Kojima is at the stage where he needs to loop back around the Big Boss storyline from, you know, 3, Peace Walker, etc., back to Metal Gear 1. And he does do this to explain some plot holes.
I think it's very well explained.
Oh no, it's great. I love the man who sold the world shit's great. And honestly, the story that's in 5 is great. I want to say the issues are, one, I feel like there's a weird, like, relationship with possible character cameos where, because of the twist, presumably, you know, the other Snake is off at Foxhound, like, training those people you'd meet later.
From what I understood, yes.
Which is, like, that's cool. But also, as an audience member, that's what I want to see, right? Like, I'd love to see Salahadin Big Boss recruit, like, Baby Sniper Wolf, you know, shit like that. And what the fuck is up with Dirty Duck, right? That was the guy in Metal Gear who took hostages. Like, what's his deal? Remember that guy, Lucky?
Yeah.
And then there's the fucking, what was his name? Running Man? Running Shoes?
Just running. Listen, I somewhat forgot about them, but we did do a whole, like, Metal Gear Master collection. One actually was.
There was. I love that one guy was just shotgunner and one guy was just machine gunner.
Mm-hmm.
There was the boomerang guy. We mentioned Dirty Duck, the hostage guy. I think he was also the boomerang guy. Yeah, machine gun kid. Like, it was very funny. Yes. But like that I think would be, there would be room for that game, right? Like, because that would almost be probably more like squad based, like, because you can imagine Big Boss like doing missions, you know, for the U.S. government and being like, all right, your code name is Shotgunner. Here is your shotgun. And then he's like, I am now Shotgunner. This is my thing. Big Boss gave me this shotgun himself.
It is now a family heirloom.
I go everywhere with this gun.
Just thinking Shotgunner with a shotgun in bed has a little nightcap on it.
I mean, like, it's often discussed how Big Boss's, like, weird charisma is. Like, that's how it would be, right? Like, Big Boss would see you at the Foxhound training ground, and he would be like, you could use, you know, your spray and pray style, you know, we need to get you a shotgun for up close work. Here, use this. And that guy would be like, this is now my entire personality. Ocelot shows up for like a commute, and he's just like, yep, sounds about right. Big Boss once kicked the shit out of me and said I should use a revolver, and here I am.
Never looked back.
Except for when I shoot back, fires a gun behind himself. But like, yeah, no, like, so there's a lot of room for that the game just kind of skips over and instead does keep introducing new characters, but you do got some old retro characters, which are very fun. And like, talking about that, like, I love Ocelot and Miller as, like, you can't really call them Venom Snake's two dads, but like the angel and devil on his shoulder. Like, Miller's always trying to get you to, like, be serious and do jobs, and Ocelot's like, you know, boss, you could use this expensive guided missile launcher that the American government's paying us to deliver back to them. You could use that to blow the shit up out of some skulls. Miller's like, boss, don't do that. That's money. We need that. You know, like, shit like that. It's very funny. And they do have some returning character. Like, unironically, I fucking love what they do with Huey and both in Ground Zeroes and in Phantom Pain. Like, Huey's character arc is actually great and shows a lot of range about his actor, because it's the same VA as regular Otacon.
Huey Emmerich is a character you love to hate.
Yeah, like, it's one of those moments where you just, like, at first you look at him and you're just like, Huey, come on, that's not a good idea. And then he just keeps going and you're like, Huey, you son of a bitch. What? You poked holes in the radiation equipment so we would mutate the vocal parasites? And then you complain on the radio that I'm killing my guys? Son of a bitch, you're going to the ocean. Put him in the water. Like...
Sorry, put him in the water. Your son's gonna fuck your wife.
And that's the thing, right? We just know that guy's boned. Like, he's fucked. Like, his life is not going to get better.
Nope.
The vocal cord parasites definitely read that, like, Kojima read, like, a science journal once and was like, oh, we could have developed our vocal cords because of parasites? That's funny.
I don't understand. So, like, reading into some backstory material, apparently, like, it's said somewhere that the vocal parasite is how the fucking, I can't remember the name.
The Cobra unit. It's not literally the vocal parasites, but it's similar types is how they explain guys like, at least like the pain in the end.
No, the fear as well, because the fear apparently, whatever he had going, whenever he, felt it, it would like spike his adrenaline.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had parasites that like when he had a fear response, it instead gave him like super adrenaline. He was also naturally, I think, just double jointed like a freak, but
yeah. But no, so it's like, no, I think Kojima was trying to, I don't know if Kojima necessarily has like a giant ass timeline plan and everything, but he was trying his best to wrap up everything. Oh god, that is the literally most contentious fucking thing about fucking Metal Gear 5 in my personal opinion.
Which part?
Quiet. Not let's say her character, her end note.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And I mean, I think there's still character stuff. Like, they make a point of talking about how Quiet is literally quiet. Like, the parasites don't stop you from writing. Like, she could have explained a lot, but did not want to for reasons. But like, it's a very weird note. I can't remember if these are like, some of these feel like urban legends, but I think there is like actually a way to like re-unlock her.
No, yeah, there is, but it's it's not in a
time wasty.
It's well, the thing is you losing Quiet originally sparked a huge outrage, and that was something they had to patch in. If you did like, I can't remember, a specific mission like 10 times with like an item equipped,
I think it's if you do her like her boss fight mission, I think. Yeah.
But if you do it like 10 times, you get an item that can bring her back as a buddy companion, but she's out of the story.
Yeah.
The problem is guys, I gotta, like, has it been 9 years since it came out?
Like, literally, it's been, yeah.
It's 9 years spoiler.
They did the 9 years joke.
It's
been 11
that's right. I remember seeing the doctor everywhere now.
Yeah.
But the thing is basically during the end, you've basically fought an entire army. It's the middle of a fucking sandstorm. You're injured. Quiet's with you, and in the middle of a sandstorm with gunfires and explosions going off, a snake thinks it's a really good idea to attack you specifically, you the boss. A man covered in metal and stuff. And it's not like, it popped out of a rock. It comes out of the fucking sand and just like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
It can only do it because it's the most ironic thing in the universe for Big Boss, the snake guy.
Venom Snake.
Yeah, to be bit by a venomous snake that is apparently lethal, which I don't even know if there are, like, that kind of, like, vipers or cobras in the Afghan desert.
Yeah, but Quiet, who is with you and does not want the boss to die, who has been infected with the English strain of the parasite, which means if she speaks English, she becomes
a walking nuke, basically.
She becomes a walking nuke. Tries to help radio the helicopter to pick up Snake so we can save his life, but the only other language that Quiet can speak is Navajo, and the pilot doesn't speak Navajo. So she has to speak English, and basically has to kill herself.
Yeah, she flees into the desert, leaves you a tape explaining everything, and then is gone from the game.
Yeah. And like, again, I'm on that fence. It's like, I don't know what we're going for here.
Yeah, I assume part of that is just that, like, well, we have to write Quiet out at some point because, I don't know, based on the current canon that they loop back together, that means that she should have been a boss fight in the original Metal Gear. So, like, we have to get rid of her somehow. But there are better ways to handle that than the way the game locked it out.
Because, like, I'm not necessarily against Quiet being killed or being taken out, but I wanted it done in a way that was meaningful to the story. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will fight everybody on it. It was not meaningful for to the story.
Yeah, I could see it being like maybe it was a third act thing that got cut because that would make a lot more sense because basically there's 3 vials of the English speaking parasite because Skullface is a dickhead. He needs exactly 3. One of which he jams in Quiet, and the other 2 he keeps on him. We try to get rid of them, but Psycho Mantis steals the 3rd and gives it to Eli, and that's supposed to be the Act 3 that's not in the game. Eli steals Sahelanthropus, jams the last English parasite into himself, and goes to take over the world. Literally, Island of the Flies type shit. And there are cutscenes, like I said, in the deluxe version you can get where they're mostly done. Where basically the ultimate conclusion of Act 3 is Venom Snake goes to the island, while the last remnants of XOF, the actual Cypher guys, show up to try and get Sahelanthropus back. Eli is in a biohazard jumpsuit because he's on the verge of puberty, which will activate his vocal parasites and doom the world. Skullface will win because Liquid is a fucking dickhead. Eli, not that he shouldn't be because he's, a fucking super soldier child, but God, Eli really always you look at Eli in 5 and you see him in as Liquid in 1 and you're just you have always been this over-dramatic prick, haven't you? I guess Revolver Ocelot couldn't fix that out of him. Who am I kidding? Ocelot encouraged that shit.
Probably.
But so he's in a colored jumpsuit. So presumably there would be another Sahelanthropus boss fight. And after which, there's a bunch of guys in hazmat suits. There was a recurring thing that was very minor in the game, but would have come back here where, when, boss gets concussed, he goes temporarily colorblind. His reds all become whites. So basically, he would, in his colorblind state, while gunning down all of the remaining XOF guys in hazmat suits, accidentally shoot Eli. That's real fucked up. And I think the cutscene ends with Diamond Dogs is planning on leaving Eli for dead, but Mantis rips the parasite out of his throat or something. I don't remember. It's unfinished, but there's supposed to be, like I said, a big dramatic island confrontation where, like I said, there's probably a Sahelanthropus battle, and I could see them doing something with that with Quiet in the lead up, right?
Oh yeah.
But the game is literally unfinished. The 3rd act never made it, and the actual game is full of filler. At some point they just make you be you have to re-examine everything you've done, boss, and make you go back and do old story missions in with hard mode modifiers, it's really weird. It's a weird one.
It's a weirdie.
The game is really cool, but actually playing it is very odd. So it's not perfect. I would love if somebody could get a second crack at actually explaining the game. Yeah, there's all the tapes for Zero, and there's tapes for explaining what Skullface and Code Talker were up to that, like I said, those all have sounds. There's a cassette tape of Major Zero getting the parasite attack from Skullface, which like I said has ambient audio. They're talking on the phone. Skullface is also such a he's carried hard by his voice actor.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, Skullface is a fucking doofus. There are so many opportunities for him to do things that make sense, and he just doesn't. At one point, there's a very infamous scene where he just holds Big Boss hostage and throws him in the back of his Jeep so that they can have a conversation where he loosely rambles about his motivation. Meanwhile, Big Boss doesn't say anything because we didn't want to pay Kiefer Sutherland for those lines. And then ultimately gets you to the hangar about Sahelanthropus, and then he's just and here we go. Here's my Sahelanthropus. Uh-oh, what's this? Such lust for revenge. As he's getting carried away by his goon squad who are just standing there getting killed by Eli psychically piloting Sahelanthropus. It's and he's got other weird moments like that. And he doesn't even have a real boss fight. He has a cool lever action gun. We should do that. That said, I do love how he goes out. Miller and Big Boss blow off his arms and legs after he's been crushed by a radio tower, and then they want to leave him to suffer. It's fucking Huey who grabs the gun and kills him, and he's I did it! I killed Skullface! And you're just sure you did, Huey. Sure you did. There's the character writing in that game is usually so on point, but the pacing for everything is so weird because of the open world format.
Yeah.
Like, you can go on a tear where you're, like, knocking down, like, 3-story missions in a row, and then it's like, Miller's like, all right, boss, we need to figure out what Cypher's doing. Take random jobs in the Congo for a little bit. And then you're like, cool, okay. Like, it's a cool game, but like I said, I really wish they could have stitched some of that better together.
No, so I'm definitely hoping that someday in the near future, I say near future, like couple of years, that Kojima and Konami maybe have a sit down and be like, we need to finish this.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, I understand. I don't like it. I get where Kojima is coming from because, like, they put a lot of unfortunate hoops on David Hayter because I think it's that Kojima. Well, that's the thing, Axe. Most of them are. Like, I think actually a lot of the execs who were at Konami when the Kojima thing went down are gone. Actually, like, Konami has had a major restructuring and come to Jesus moment.
Yeah,
like where like they. Like, their company realized they were not going to last just riding on pachinko machines of their franchises, that, like, they had to, like, get their shit together and reorg, or we're going to have to start selling IP. And I think that they did the thing that for them was smart, which was like, no, we're not going to sell our IP. We are going to take our money and, like, rebuild our gaming brand. We'll license out some productions, we'll do some remasters, and we will work on brand new games.
Yeah, speaking of bench, have you seen the fucking... They came out with speaking of Konami and games, they actually came out with a new trailer for Silent Hill. Is it F or flat? I don't know.
I think it's F. I have not actually seen the trailer, but I've seen bits of it. Yeah, no, they're working on a new Silent Hill, and they're going ham on it, being like, this is the first time we've set a Silent Hill in Japan.
Yeah, it's like specifically like 1960s Japan, and they had a huge ass content warning about that.
Yeah, which some people were bothered by. I don't know, like the like trigger warning style thing, which we have completely stopped calling it trigger warning. We just say content warning now, which is what we always should have done, but internet buzzwords. There was a lot of that unnecessary stuff, I think, when that first became popular, but specifically content warning, like, hey, not only is this a Silent Hill game, but we're doing a historical game with a female protagonist. Like, we want to let you know that we are not, like, endorsing some kind of, like, return shit. We are not advocating, like, going back to the 60s. We're doing a period piece. And it's like, yeah, do they have to be so specific about everything? Probably not, but
honestly, in today's social climate, you kind of do.
Yeah, I would want to put a little extra English on that, of them being like, and it's one of those things where, like, while I don't think it's always correct, there is a slice of the audience that does see portrayal as endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important for them to get out in front of it and be like, hey, by the way, portrayal is not endorsement. We're doing a Silent Hill. Shit's going to be fucked up. And, like, previous Silent Hill games have actually done, like, viewer discretion warnings. Weren't as in depth as what they put in front of F, but they have existed, you know?
Yeah. So no, Konami's trying to get back in their game space. And so I'm hoping, like, post Delta and post Metal Gear Collection Master Volume 2.
Yeah. Which we know they're working on, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's the fucking port of Metal Gear Solid 4. That's probably what's keeping them. Which is hilarious to me that, I mean, it makes sense, though, that, like, remaking a game from the ground up in Unreal 5 has been easier for them than figuring out how to fucking emulate the PS3.
Honestly, they might be having
but
to
it's
do
probably
maybe not everything from scratch, but they might have to be doing some fucking weird-ass coding.
I mean, yeah, like, I'm assuming whatever engine they made the original Metal Gear Solid 3 in is not compatible with 5, and they've like redone all the assets. They've kept all the dialogue, but, like, from scratch is probably not exactly correct, but, like, they needed new textures and assets and models. They probably had to remap the cutscenes. I wonder if they actually... I don't know if I think all the cutscenes look like they're the same. They're just high res. So I guess that means they just took all the old mocap data. So that's not from scratch. But, you know, like, the game parts they had to build up from something. At least they had a model. And again, it seems from the footage that, like, they have been very cautious and sticking very strongly to the original with this remake. Like, they're like, no, we are not doing that, like, shit where we say we remake a game and then we, like, change the ending. No, this is a shot-for-shot remake in cinematography terms, which is good. It's the right way to handle it, I think. And also, it kind of makes sense because I know that Twin Snakes got some pushback.
Yeah.
Because that was... And I mean, I understand why it is the way it is, because I do believe that Kojima did work on that one a little bit. And this is something we realized playing through the Master Collection, right? Hideo Kojima is not a guy who, like, does an idea once and drops it. he will do things over and over again until he gets the version that he likes.
Yep.
That's why, like, the helicopter fight happened, like, 4 times in Metal Gear. Because every time he got a new tech upgrade, he was like, oh, no, I can do this better. It's why I think that, like, the Metal Gear fights get more and more over the top, even when it doesn't make any fucking sense. Sahelanthropus is silly. They need, like, 3 kinds of bullshit to explain it. It works off metallic archaea parasites, and also it's powered by a psychic child.
Yeah, no, guys... Sahelanthropus didn't actually work. It only got to work when a psychic kid fucking, got in the robot, Shinji.
Yeah. Also, by the way, talking about how shitty Huey is, Huey tried to do that to Hal. He tried to put Otacon in the robot. That's when Strangelove sent Hal away. She was
and
like,
then
oh,
guess
no,
what?
no, you are not putting my son in the giant robot.
And then Hal locked her in the fucking AI core.
Yeah, because he sucks. He's a guy who sucks.
He sucks.
So actually, like... if we ever got a Metal Gear caught up in the current timeline, we should beam Hal the tapes from 5 from Phantom Pain to let him know. Yeah, no. Honestly, you did the greatest thing in the world by having your dad decide to fucking jump in the pool. He sucked. He sucked a lot. Killed your mom. Well, yeah. The Sahelanthropus as a weapon it's still a Metal Gear because it is a nuke, but it's a nuke because it's got the metallic archaea, so it can enrich its own depleted uranium armor to go critical, which is a little silly, but that's, the point. Honestly, Metal Gear Zeke is already probably too advanced for its time slot in, like, the 70s, but at the very least, they explain that as, like, that was a purely robotic AI weapon until Paz decided to bolt a pilot cockpit onto it.
Good job, Paz. You were a weird one, too.
I think she had to fucking submerge herself underwater to do it and, like, breathe through an oxygen mask or something. Anyway, but yeah, no, it is still very funny. Like, if I was gonna be Konami, like, my other, like, remake project would be probably Don't Fuck with Peace Walker, just re-release that in the Master Collection, But, like, if you can, like, stick Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain together and then, like, fix the third act, that would be great. But, like, do, like, maybe not, like, a full, like, Delta style, but, like, do a little remake of Metal Gear 1 and 2 to, like, maybe give some of these guys, like, faces, voices, and, like, a little bit of funny character nods they could do. And maybe make the Metal Gear fights a little more impressive, because the first 2 Metal Gears are, like, real dog shit because of the prequels. Admittedly, it's, like, I'm just imagining fucking, like, Big Boss and Mother Base and Outer Heaven right on the budget of, like, okay, Big Boss, this is the 3rd giant fucking robot you've built. We gotta make some budget cuts. Oh, also, actually, another thing from Metal Gear Solid 5 that was cut that was very silly was essentially Huey. The Battle Gear.
Yes,
that was supposed to be operatable.
Deploy. Yeah, but it was so broken that they're like, we cannot maintain any semblance of game balance with this thing.
I would have just said, fuck it, send it, because, like, make it so it's only available in the post-game shit anyway. Mm-hmm. Then it's fine. Who cares? Like, you're farming missions for repeating anyway. You give yourself the Battle Gear with its fucking hoverboarding and railgun. Like, honestly, and they may have planned it to be, like, a thing you could get to in multiplayer, because the multiplayer, like, tech tree is, like, really weird and elongated. Speaking about, I don't know why we're so deep on Metal Gear Solid 5, but we were talking about
because we love it,
I guess. Yeah, also, we like Metal Gear. It's true. But, like, there were the hidden cutscenes that people had to data mine for, like, disarming all nuclear weapons on your server.
Yep.
Reminding you once again, Hideo Kojima thinks nukes are very bad. There's only one brief thing besides Death Stranding I had in my notes to mention. I don't know if Lucky has anything he wants to get into before we talk about Rain, but hold on, itching my nose. Speaking of video games, there was a little trailer that released this week. There was a lot of trailers, honestly. It was GDC recently, but one of them that I found was very interesting was FBC Firebreak.
Yeah. Sticky notes.
Yes, set in the Control universe. Remedy and another studio are working on it. It is a 3-man PvE shooter set inside the oldest house of Control, where you get to fight Hiss and Sticky Notes. And it looks real fun. Like, they're doing a lot of, like, interesting stuff with the I mean, yeah, probably, because they already showed the Sticky Notes and other weird shit you can run into. So it looks like we're taking, like, the assets and the settings of Control, and we are mixing them up. We're making it first person, and I'm like, first person horde shooter set in the Control universe was not something I knew I needed, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to play in the style of something like Killing Floor or Left 4 Dead. That is my assumption.
In the trailer, they talk about like the shelters and like the containment gates. So it sounds like you like progress through areas to get to gates, and you have to like kill the enemy so they open and move you to the next area. You can get like loot and stuff, but also you have to deal with like silly control stuff, like maybe the sticky notes take over one of your teammates. What do they call the giant sticky note guy? Sticky Jim, I think, or something like that. It's very funny. But I recently learned a very cool note, which is it's coming out sometime this year. I don't remember if they set a date, but it's going to be day one on Game Pass and PS Plus Extra.
Oh, that's good.
According to sources. So, like, if you're on those, it'll be easily accessible. It is only 3-man co-op, but I'm sure we can round up a couple of one.
No, if it's day and date, I'll be down. From what I understand, there have been a few interviews coming out for it. They say that it is a game designed for people who have, jobs and lives and kids. So maybe not necessarily a game that, requires you to spend a fuck ton amount of time of it. Just, some amount of time on it.
He understands.
So, yeah. So it'll be exciting to say. I'll definitely, as usual, it'll probably not be a game that I want to spend a fuck ton of time in. But if someone says, hey, do you want to play Firebrick? I'll be like, sure.
Well, we'll get at least a little longevity out of it, I'm sure, and we'll see what happens.
So just brief aside, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this. It's just I want to mention it because I love it every single fucking day that it has existed so far. But please go check out Ben Starr's ad for the Square Enix publisher show, as it is fucking genius. You probably have seen it twirling around on whatever social media you have, but Ben Starr, our man Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy 16, also playing, if I remember correctly, a main character in Claire Obscura.
Yes,
I believe it was. I don't actually know that character's name, but I know he's in it, which is important.
He's going to be in Claire Obscura, a game which is also coming out next month, I think.
Oh shit, is it?
I think so. No! I just replaced Assassin's Creed Shadows waiting room with Claire Obscure waiting room.
I might want to talk about that just a little bit, but yes, no, he basically did was a 5-minute ad for the Square Enix publisher cell where he starts hi, I'm Ben Starr, professional actor, professional idiot, professional, something of that, and just maintains that energy throughout the entire ad. And people are literally saying this is one of the greatest ads ever made. And
it's 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
4 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah, I just
it's all just asking the age-old question, what RPG should I play next? The short answer always is and will be Final Fantasy VIII. But, oh god. Again, this is one of those things, I am sorely tempted to see if I can find, Ben Starr's one of his social media and asking, Ben, please tell me how much of that was ad-libbed and how much of that was actual script, because I need to know, because it is so hilarious.
Well, and just today, 13 hours ago, they posted 1 minute and 4 seconds of bloopers.
Of bloopers? I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I'll check them out.
Did he, he had to, have co-wrote the script. I can't imagine that he didn't. There's...
Yeah.
Ben Starr is a pretty funny guy, just in general. You should see, after he got his role for 16 and everyone knew what he was, he would just go on his Twitter with him just doing, auditions for characters, but just being very, very silly with it. So no, I fully expect him, but it's so good. I love it.
Yeah, and
please.
The funny thing is that he had a few small roles. He was a bit actor in England before that. And he'd done minor voice work, but 16 was really his breakout. But they brought him the fuck in, right?
As it says, my pals and contractual bestie Square Enix,
Yeah. What the funny thing is, sorry, I'm looking at his videography. So he was a character in Arknights, same year as 16. That's very funny. He's only one character in Arknights. He is the male character voice in Atlas Fallen, that Sand game that was on PS Plus not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
And obviously Tekken 8. Also his Warframe role kind of added. But he's going to be the main character in First Berserker Kazan, which is coming out soon. And he's going to be the character Verso is the name in Claire Obscure. He also is Prometheus in Hades 2.
Ah.
But Hades 2 is one of those games where they pick up a lot of extra guys. I'm pretty sure Alphina's current voice actor, Colin Ryan, is Apollo, so they added a few. But he deserves it because he was nominated for several awards and won the Golden Joystick for Best Lead for 16. So like he's an up and comer, and he seems like, if it's not too on point of me to say, down to clown with a lot of this stuff, because he also was Jimbo.
Mm-hmm.
He did a Balatro ad recently. So like and I approve of all of this, especially because while several of the kind of, I want to say, the newer like cast of actors, like a lot of the guys in 14 seem really down to clown with guest appearances and social media and stuff. I remember that for 14 they did like a little, I don't remember what like holiday it was, but they did like a little duo cooking thing.
Yeah, where they tried to make I remember that.
Yeah. And it was Alphino and Alizé's actors, obviously, and then the other pair I think was Urianger and Thancred, which is also perfect. No notes. Like, so those guys are always, very fun down, and I feel like the 7 remake English cast is like new enough they get them to do stuff. Like, Brianna White's always on social media and stuff. Clouds VA has done some appearances. And like, obviously the fact that they have cast some veterans, like, well, he didn't have a huge role. The picking Matt Mercer as Vincent Valentine means that you get a lot of cross action there. That actually reminds me, talking about like Matt Mercer, weird crossover stuff. I didn't watch it, but Critical Role did they do these occasionally. They do sponsored one shots for video games. They did one for the Suikoden 1 and 2 release, where one of the players was Aaron fucking Hansen.
Wow.
He was on Crit Roll, hanging out with Matt Mercer. I mean, he's done VA roles, so it makes sense that he would know some of these people, but I may have to watch it just for that. But like, that's crazy. Also good for Aaron, I guess.
Aaron's been at it for a while.
He's been trying. Like, I think, especially for voiceover stuff, he does, deserve to get some credit in there. He's been trying and making funny voices for a while. But yeah, no. So like, Matt Mercer is a dyed-in-the-wool nerd. Like, his secondary business is making a D&D show with all his friends who are also voice actors and are also turbo nerds. So like, you can tell he's a real one and is down for funny marketing stuff. But like, definitely, like, I feel like because he's not locked in on other huge roles, Ben Starr is like absolutely like ready to rock with doing some funny bits. But even some of the more famous actors, like, I know that he and Sid's actor actually did like record some memes. Like, they had some fun. They joshed around.
Didn't they actually do
I think they did the mansplain one bit. Yeah. And I'm trying to double check his name right now because I don't remember right now. Yes, Ralph Ineson, Sidolphus Telamon. He's like a real actor, like on screens and shit.
And this is kind of somewhat amazing that we're getting to the point in video games that we can get, actual, theater and actors in studio to do video games in here. Like, and it still blows my mind that fucking Maud Nicholson's, was in a fucking mocap, in the room doing, Death Stranding, along with Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus was huge at the time because of Walking Dead. And I appreciate that, like, for Kojima specifically, that, like, they have this moment where Norman has talked about this, where like,
yes,
he didn't have any fucking idea who Hideo Kojima was, but he saw video game people being like, oh man, Kojima's here. And like, I believe he saw the bit at the Game Awards where Kojima like walked down the heavenly stairs and said, I'm back.
And Norman just had a thought of like, he's a fucking god.
Yeah. And I think that was, and like, Norman Reedus is like, nah, fuck it. This guy, if whatever he says, I'm there for, man. And that I feel like is I want to say like a smart lock-in for Reedus in the video gaming world to just be like, nah, fuck it. But yeah, like, Innocent is like, I mean, I feel like he's a little bit of a character actor, but he's been in some major, films. He was in Nosferatu last year.
Ooh, I heard that did pretty well.
Yeah, it sounded appropriately spooky. But also, he was the lead character in the Green Knight movie a couple years ago, but he's been in a lot of TV and stuff. And I'm like, who was he in Game of Thrones? Dagmar Cleftjaw, that's right. But yeah, he was a named extra in, Game of Thrones for a while. And the funny thing is that like he has very small video game awards or roles. Like, it's just been 16, and he's a character in Diablo 4. And prior to that, he was a famous pirate, but he was Charles Vane in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That's it. He was just a guy in Black Flag, and then he's, it makes me wonder how like Square does these casting calls, right?
I think they might have just put out an audition notice and people show up. I think that's how it works. I think sometimes I think it goes both ways. Either they put out open audition calls, or they might call a person to do a thing. Because I think that's how Ben Starr got the role, because he did an open audition.
Yeah.
But Matt Mercer was specifically called in to do Vincent, and I remember this because I remember the story. Matt Mercer didn't actually know who he's auditioning for.
Yeah. They were just like, Matt, come in. We want you to read some lines.
Yeah.
And that's I think some of that is like for Matt Mercer, obviously that's probably because that like they know he's a fan, because he is, and like the like voice direction cast was like, okay, Vincent Valentine, he's got a deep voice. Who the fuck can we get for this? Well, we could call Steve Bloom again, but we cast him previously, and they kind of want new people. So, but yeah, no, yeah, probably for 16 they were just like open call, in London looking for people, because I think they use the same like translation and dubbing team obviously as they do for 14 for 16. So they probably put out a call that way.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure if that's how it goes. I am not an industry insider. I am an industry outsider. That means I know jack shit.
I do believe that is usually like how, if you're being cast in anything, honestly, but for video games, depending on what they're doing, because you can have like localization and stuff, obviously, and like mocap actors are not always the same as actors, but the way it usually works is from one of two angles. Either, like you said, the like direction team is like, okay, we got a role. I have a guy in mind for this role. Like that's how I think Hideo Kojima does a lot of his casting in Death Stranding. He's like, okay, I need a protagonist. Give me Norman Reedus. I like him. I got a weird character role. I need a weird guy. Give me Mads Mikkelsen. That's like how he works. And then there's just like the classic way of casting, even for movies and TV is open casting call, which is just you put out a line. Hey, come down to this studio. We're doing a casting call for this. Here's your character beats we're looking for. Go. The main thing that is funny to me is like, I don't know how, like, obviously that's the casting director's job, is to find good people and cast them. But like, I don't know how, if you're like, for instance, if you're Ralph Ineson, right? How do you end up playing, a major supporting role for a video game when you haven't done a video game role in like 10 years? Black Flag was 2013, by the way. I guess like just your agent just says, oh, hey, I think this would be great for you, Ralph.
Probably.
Check this out. And Ralph's like, all right. And then obviously, when I'm going to assume when he came in and read lines for Sid, the casting team was like, oh, yeah, this guy, he's got the voice for this shit. Because, Sid has that kind of like deep, gravelly like tone where, like he's in charge, but also he's not afraid to crack a joke.
Yeah.
And obviously they don't always do it this way because it's rough to get the lineup, but if you can get a table read where you can get multiple actors together to test stuff, that's great. And from the fact that I know they've done stuff together, I bet Ralph and Ben Starr had great chemistry on camera, which is the thing that like, that's, if I've never been to film school, but I've listened to a lot of people talk about amateur and professional film and video games and stuff. That's the kind of thing where like, as like the director and casting guys, and even sometimes the writers, you like that. If your actors can like embody the chemistry of their characters without even having a script, you're like, okay, this is the good shit. These people have like a presence on screen and in voice that we can feel.
A rapport.
Yeah. Obviously, that's not always the case. There are like cases where like people in movies and TV, hate each other off camera, and you don't see it at all in the movie.
That's its own kind of
yeah.
That's its own kind of power.
But yeah, usually like your ideal is that memento. All right. Well, let's see. How long have we been going? Ooh, almost 4 hours.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
We really got off on the Metal Gear thing, and then we talked about Final Fantasy 16. Rain. It's cool. We like it. Listen to Rain.
Listen to Rain. Well, I just uploaded the latest one today. It is 30-something, as always, and we are still in the midst of our fucking detour to the Isle of Tron, home of House of Verity and Astrakhan Hill, the Pope Palace.
Church of the Seven, yeah. I do believe this week we will be wrapping that up completely. I've got all my vignettes for your visits to the other houses. Alphen, Ghouls, Martlets.
Yep.
Pretty sure that's everybody.
That is everybody. Then we're gonna pop on over to Candlekeep Quay and sail on home. Well, guess what, Axe? Axe is in our chat saying, lucky when you listed all my achievements in the account, I felt very embarrassed. Well, guess what? You're the marquee. All the cool shit we do, you need to do. Because that's what makes you look important and make people not want to fuck with you. Because we have definitely been thinking about this, because it has been a while. It has been a long while, but we're finally on the way back to to Tyne, to Norlon, home. And it's been having those thoughts recently of like, man, we got a lot to do. Man, we got a fucking lot to do.
I think that's gonna, like, Sunday afternoon before we game, I'm gonna write down my notes just to make sure I've got, like, a character name straight and stuff, because, like, depending on how fast we run through next time, which I don't know for sure, but, like, it is one of those things where I'm like, you guys might get as far as, like a morning exposition meeting. If you guys roll back into town, I might have to make sure I've got all my ducks in a row. Because, like, you guys have already been thinking about it, and it was quite correct that, like, when you get back home, there's gonna have to be an all-hands meeting. Or two. Like,
probably two.
Because you guys have to, like, explain yourselves and talk about your business and move on and like, you know, to introduce all the stuff you've been doing. And then also, hey, by the way, spoilers from me, the game master. I've mentioned before, I have character beats and, like, new plot threads that are waiting for you back home that, like, nobody's going to put in writing. So they won't be probably, like, things where, like, you're going to have to, like, immediately change your plans, but I am going to have some new shit to heap on you, because of course I am. You guys have been gone, like, a month and a half.
Yes, no, and don't worry, Axe. Enos has very clearly volunteered as MC for the morning meeting. We had over, you know, breakfast and tea. But yes, everything that we do or did, no, I'm going to basically say, yo, that was your idea because you're the Marquess.
Yeah, and basically, so for people, because this was in the Cabal, in our private tabletop and gaming chat, Lucky basically phrased out, like, the list of everything the squad has accomplished and did frame it as, you know, the Marquess's hard work. Most of which was, you know, like, at least a little bit of, like, his idea. At the very least, you, Axe, as Leslock, signed off on all this.
Which is the important part.
Like, you were pitched these plans and went, yes. And yeah, honestly, I've always thought that was going to be Enos's role in the squad. You also have taken up a little bit of, like, crafty fiddly money stuff. But I've always thought of you as the group face, which means that, like, you will be doing, in public, you would be doing basically master of ceremonies type stuff of just, like, and you even made sure to talk about, like, oh, I should, you know, remember to do my introductions in order and stuff. Like, you know, taking those notes of, like, running social interactions for the crew, because none of the rest of the members of the team are very sociable. Leslock has his politeness down pat, but I feel like, and with good reason, he's not really like a social butterfly, because, like, he was a nerd all of his life, and then his dad died, and suddenly he had to be catapulted into, like, speedball becoming the Marquess for, like, 3 years. And also, probably, I'm going to be honest, because the previous Marquess was murdered. We talked about this. They didn't let that guy out of their sight for 3 years. Like, you know, so probably, like, there were bodyguards and men-at-arms and burly footmen, you know, within arm's reach of Leslock at all times for those 3 years of the time skip. Which for him was probably, like, annoying at times, but makes perfect sense that he's not, like, you know, perfectly well adjusted to, like, party small talk, because he wasn't partying for a lot. He's been busy preparing to run a fucking province of a country, be a peer of the king. But, you know, we do make sure to be, like, we talk about this a lot, to be like, no, for official reasons, we've got to, like, think about these things in that way. And the rest of the crew are not sociable at all.
Or they're sociable in really weird ways. Looking at you, Dallas.
Nicola is perfectly polite, but is also a mad scientist. Like, he's not, like, not sociable. He's just not good at, like, talking about things normally. Yeah. And Conrad and Logesh are quite deliberately stoics.
Maybe I should pick up some Inspire. I have Intimidation at 5 and Fascinate at 6, but I don't have any Inspire. I'm gonna be giving speeches. I might need that. So yes. But the only problem with, like, these set things is Omega keeps giving me hooks. I'm all like, shit, I want to follow up on this. You'll hear it in this current session if you guys are keeping track, but I finally get to ask Omega about the Chalice Knights, the 13 Knights of the Chalice, and I'm just like, he tells me this stuff, I'm all like, that sounds really rad, I want that.
Yeah, spoilers, I gave these fuckers a Grail quest just in the middle of things, and they're like, you son of a bitch, now I'm interested in this plot hook, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Luckily, at least, and I think we are getting a little better about this, is we, like, I think the Tron trip, it's funny that was, like, you know, in the mid-20s of sessions, you guys started planning and executing the Tron trip. But I feel like the Tron trip has really got you guys to the point of, like, okay, so we can take our exposition, but we're realizing we don't need to solve our plot hooks immediately.
Mhm.
Like, you guys are realizing, like, okay, wait, no. This thing, we can wait till later. Another thing that comes up is the crew meets a science expert the other way. They meet a cool scholar. She's very cool and zany, and she has lots of ideas. I listed out, like, her areas of expertise. And everybody in the crew, but especially you, Lucky, were literally like, actually, I'm interested in every single one of those things you said, but no, that's not why I'm here. We're going to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that shit later. And, like, I think we are finally getting better about, like, no, we need to, like, we don't need to do everything in, the second year of spring. Like we said, Leslock's literally been the Marquis for a month. We don't need to do everything right away. We can stack some of these down the road,
Yeah, no, like, I've had that with Enos's personal character goals. I'm all like, you know what? No, we don't need to start, doing all this stuff. We can stagger this, acquire personal power. We can do that. We can do that now. Worry about things like that.
God knows that like Comrade's meta goals have been, like, chomped at the bit to like loop back to Tyne. Luckily, I think I have actually finally reached a point where obviously you guys aren't gonna, like, skedaddle right away, but after this recent bout of exposition, everybody in the crew's focus has actually looped back around to, like, okay, nope, we have to go back to Tyne now. All of our subplots are now running back through Tyne.
Yeah. Like I said, we picked up a scholar, which will help us with our modern ley line theory. We got to prepare for summer court. We have to stamp down the smuggling ring. We have to, pay visits to, like, the Temple of 1,000 Candles, the Silver Tower. It's all coming up time, which is important, especially for things that might be happening later down the year. Like, I'm trying to help, Aaron/Conrad set up for him some more plot stuff for him later, maybe with a trip to setting up a mercenary company. We've been talking about it on and off, but I'm trying to push him in that direction so he has more stuff to do. Yep. As it came out that one of his character frustrations is that he's not doing stuff, and people who should not be doing stuff is doing stuff, and they're getting stuff for doing stuff that they should not be doing. Stuff.
I mean, I very deliberately did design that whole thing with Dallas's character and him getting his honor title, because it was like, man, like, I love the point where, like, the Blood Shield reads out this whole message from the king, and he's like, now, don't do that again. Cut that shit out.
No, like, that's what we're talking about. No, the wedding doesn't have to be this year. It could be next year. Honestly, it probably should be next year spring.
Spring, I think, is a good month. I designed the calendar a while ago. I think it's spring or fall months are usually beneficial. Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, fall's too soon. We are way too fucking busy. I mean, it's one of those things talking about priorities. Like, presumably you guys want to be ready to execute the Blood Shields thing before the wedding so that listen, I don't like to assume for you, but I do play all of your other advisors. So I feel like I can give you character beats. But just letting you know, having 100 highly elitely trained, well-armed guards for your bride-to-be at the wedding, never a bad idea to roll up with a posse. No, but, like, this fall, like, once we get done with summer court, that's when we're going to start dealing with other things, like our food crisis. Because guess what? We're having summer court. That means a lot of people are going to be here, and they're going to eat all our goddamn food. So we got to make that. We got to start worrying about the upswelling of Monstrum, clearing out nests and whatnot, which is one of those things I'm trying to tie into Aaron's character with, getting him to form his mercenary company, maybe clearing out some dens on the way to Egg so we can go maybe slap around Yisper and Frost around a little bit. Because that was a plot point that came up, and it was like, It's like, is this man connected? I don't know. Because guess what? We have a small conspiracy going on right now, and we need to find answers, but we can't go herring off at any given minute to deal with it. You got to pre-plan. So we have to, plan accordingly and try to find the best time slot to do that. And at some point, I mean, you guys already know you're going to Celticy, but at some point I'm going to make you go there. Like, honestly, if we can beat, like, whatever the ice is, I say winter, because guess what? We don't do fuck all in winter in Norland. It's true. So, go winter in Celticy, maybe, payback or Barano's loan, maybe catch a ride, go visit the Necropolis, maybe go see about a fucking dragon alchemist. There's plenty of things to do over there, and it's just like, but it's like, there's so much to do, and we have to think about it in,
not like days to weeks, but in seasons. That's how I've started planning things in seasonal brackets, just to have this vagueness.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing we started like talking about a few weeks ago about.
Yeah, Dragon Window is after Anos becomes more cool than High King Win.
But yeah, that's the thing we talk about, the structure of like, no, okay, we like at some point, like I said, a few weeks ago, maybe even a month or two ago, we were like, okay, no, we got to think about this in like, and I even talked about this of like, once I get you guys out of this expositional period, I'm definitely thinking of setting things up as like, okay, what's your big deal in like each season, which is made up of 3 months? What are you doing? Spring was Festival of the Rising Dragon, becoming the Marquis, and then like a lot just in general of expositional shit of just like, hey, you guys are part of a wider world now, and there's about 10 million things in it. Some of these things you will want to start working on now, because it may take you months or years to work on this. You are not going to, unravel the conspiracy that killed your dad overnight. This is not how that works. That's the kind of shit where, like, in the novel, you're working on that, for, like, a couple of years, while we time skip. Or, you start that in novel 1, and then it ends in book 3, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it became like, okay, I think I'm just gonna like set up the way you guys run into like new hooks. Like obviously there's gonna be minor stuff that'll happen no matter what every season, like new small stuff. Like I guess the way I would say it is like not quite like flash quests, but like that sort of thing of like time limited events. Like, shit'll pop up where some guy'll pop and be like, "My lord, the bandits are attacking my windmill where I make all my bread. What can you do?" And that's the kind of shit that can be resolved with, like, half a session, a single session, maybe even a single roll of, like, gods, crush their skulls. Then I make, axe roll, might plus sovereignty, and then we're done. But probably, like, making it so that there are only, like, big new events, like, once a season. Like, one central plot arc of each quote-unquote season. Because, like, and then there'll be, like, optional stuff that you guys can technically do anytime. There's no time rush on Conrad's subplot to survey the castle, rebuild the castle, presumably demonify or devilify Lorelei Rock, right? That's not actually got a time crunch on it. But Conrad wants to get it done sooner rather than later, so whenever you guys feel like you have the free time to do a watery dungeon crawl, to do the water level, you can do that stuff. Oh, and I've got a couple of plot hooks that you guys can set up for like I said, wealth and treasure stuff. We got some ideas. Well, there is actually supposed to be an abandoned monastery on top of the rock, so it is kind of a water temple.
Yeah. Also, like, don't forget, this was one of those places that might have been supposed to be a place of power, so we might want to investigate anyway, especially when not Da Vinci shows up.
Yeah. Plus,
Vinci.
castles are cool.
Castles are cool.
And then God knows what weird engineering shit Nicola's gonna make. And you have a few other things, and like I said, I've got ideas. I believe you already got. Yeah, I think you got a letter back from one of the letters back from Auntie Yebel was saying that the heads of House Palak and Wayland were like getting together and were like, don't ask me how those two old dudes do that, but they're feeling a new silver deposit. How they do that, we'll find out later.
I think it was mentioned earlier that like we should probably open up a new silver mine. If nothing else, I was gonna get Mother guide me and ask, "Hey, where's the silver at?"
I mean, that may be a way. Like I said, they're working on a new vein. They're thinking, they're plotting. So that can be help that out. And then, of course, like I said, there's all kinds of ongoing shit. Something to... I did not pitch it this way, but this is something I probably should tell you like before we get to Summer Court. But, hey, remember how you guys joined the Prince for a tour of some local lands? Well, he's grand touring. So
yeah,
he's going to tour everywhere eventually.
Yeah.
I'll probably use that as a recurring bit. So the Summer Court would probably be a good time for him to tour, all of Norlon.
Might be best. That was actually something I was actually considering was because it has been mentioned that Leslog wanted to tour Norlon himself, say everything. Might be better and on everyone, might be easier for everyone if we just, did that all at once. Grab the Prince, grab the Marcus, go tour them together. Yeah, let's pencil that in. I'm the secretary. I get to say that. I'm not actually the secretary, but it's very hard for Axe to say no to me.
This is true. And I think there are still some like I've got my like list of some of your major holdings. Some of those you may want to poke ahead of time anyway.
Yeah.
But
well, like
there will never not be shit for you to do.
Yeah, no. Dallas can say no to me pretty easily.
Dallas, I think, says no easily, but also gets no'd easily. Today, Dallas asked me, "Can I make up a new school of sorcery?" And I'm like, "No." We talked about this in the backstory. No, that would be
my headset died again, guys.
Completely out there. Well, that probably means it's time to wrap the episode.
I did not. I would have been fine if we hadn't spent like an hour talking about fucking Metal Gear and Final Fantasy. God damn it. Ah.
It's almost 2 a.m. I'm going to do the outro.
Yes, no, I can't hear anybody, but Omega has said it, so yes. There's probably not too much more to speak about Rain, but I think I got out the parts. I am super excited. I can't wait for Sunday, and maybe next week I'll have a properly charged headset and I can listen and I can talk about it.
This is going in the video description now. Look, you can't hear me. I'm going to do the fucking outro. Hey, like this video on YouTube. Leave a comment about stuff I told you to comment about. Join our Discord to answer polls. Subscribe for more. Ring the bell for notifications so you always know we're posting new videos, new streams, and also community posts, probably. Like that poll about Lucky streaming his Tiamat roles. Support us by channel memberships. We had some memberships for our Halo stream, but you can membership us anytime, or super thanks us, or super chat us. You can also support us on Patreon, get audio early for as little as $1 a month, approximately $10 a year, and get access to videos like the Tiamat Wanted early, which presumably by the time this goes live to public will still not be out because the banner hasn't launched, so it's still in the early release Patreon period. This makes up for all the time that I released the Patreon episode early, like 12 hours. Now you're going to get it like 72 hours early. Anyway, check it out. Check out the audio for all of our reigns. Like, the audio is all posted if you want to just download and listen on our Patreon as well. Like I said, for our lowest tier. And at our higher tier, you can listen to the show live every week or even get a specially bop shout-out like Adam Hart, Blacklister G, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Crystarle, Legendary Ball Center, Rise of Kenji, Rogram, and Sharvor, some guy named Bob, Varen the Crow, and that's it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Let's see if Lucky reads the chat as we say goodbye. I think he's typing in Crow Journal.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, he said it.